The Throne of the Mechas. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 151, Return to Watchtower. The journey from Ubenstar to Watchtower was smooth, and only a small group of star pirates were taken care of by them, and they were awarded with hundreds of millions of star coins. Miss Vivian was very unhappy and felt that the mosquito meat was too small. She then set her sights on Perlo. Although she was usually careless and often acted like an info, Miss Vivian actually had very high standards. After experiencing the tragedy of Watchtower, Perlo, who was originally a love expert, began to stay away from women. After all, revenge for his comrades was the most important thing for him. Miss Vivian once thought that Xia Xingchen, who was close to Perlo, was gay. Black hole number 1 slowly approached the Watchtower space station. Looking at the familiar yellow-green planet in front of them, Xia Xingchen and Perlo were filled with emotion. The spaceship docked at the dock, and more than a dozen fully armed Imperial military soldiers came to inspect. Now the Watchtower space station is very strict in screening people coming and going. Once a space pirate is found, he will be executed on the spot, especially for people from the Northern Administrative Area, who are strictly checked. They carefully checked everyone's identity information. When he saw Xia Xingchen's information, he showed a puzzled expression. "Sir, are you sure you are from the Watchtower garrison?" The corporal was a little unconvinced. "Yes," Xia Xingchen replied. "But the system shows that your base identification code is wrong. There is no such base on Watchtower. I suspect your certificate is forged." As soon as he finished speaking, the soldiers behind him raised their weapons. "This is the identification code of the Watchtower quicksand base. Have you forgotten it in just half a year?" Xia Xingchen was a little depressed. After hearing this, the group of soldiers put down their weapons and saluted Xia Xingchen solemnly. "I'm sorry, sir. I've only been here for a month. I misunderstood. I will never forget the heroes of the quicksand base. Colonel McCall's deeds of detonating a nuclear bomb and perishing with the pirates have been known to people, and the soldiers of Watchtower regard him as a hero." Xia Xingchen searched for the missions of Watchtower and found that there are no pirates on Watchtower now. The sandworms and stinging scorpions have been killed, and there are few left. Most of the few remaining are hiding deep underground and dare not come out. However, there have been several small pirate activities rampant on the route from Watchtower to the Death Star region recently. So Xia Xingchen decided not to land on Watchtower. After a week, they will go to the outer periphery of the Death Star region to try their luck. But before that, he plans to take a landing ship to the old site of the quicksand base on Watchtower to pay tribute. Xia Xingchen first came to the medical freezing center of the Watchtower space station to visit Lieutenant Colonel Bercy, who was frozen here. Although the medical level in this era is very advanced, there are still many acute diseases and serious injuries that cannot be solved by the current medical level. Just like Lieutenant Colonel Bercy has become a vegetable now. Although there is hope for him to wake up, it may take decades. He has no relatives, and the army cannot hire someone to support him for life. It costs too much, and euthanasia is too inhumane. The military law of the Galactic Empire does not allow it. Fortunately, the current medical freezing technology is very advanced. After the human body is medically frozen and then thawed, the body functions are basically the same. The medical freezing technology was first used for human interstellar travel. At that time, the performance of the spacecraft was not enough and the speed was very slow. Humans did not master the technology of using wormholes for interstellar jumps. Therefore, for space travel at that time, after the astronauts entered space, they set the navigation route, and the spacecraft turned on the automatic driving mode. When they were about to reach the destination, the computer program automatically thawed the astronauts. Fortunately, there were no space pirates in that era. As long as there was no spacecraft failure or the unfortunate collision with space junk, there was basically no danger. Through the glass of the freezer, seeing Colonel Bercy frozen in a huge block of ice, Xia Xingchen solemnly saluted. He is now learning martial arts from Qin Ren and the old man, and his progress is rapid. If the colonel could see this, he would probably be very pleased. The group came to the landing center of the spaceport, and the military specially arranged a passenger landing ship for them. Xia Xingchen originally wanted to go with Perlo alone, but Zhang Yingying and Hugo wanted to go with him to see the place where he had fought, so he had to take them all with him. Xia Xingchen has landed on Watchstar twice. The first time he took a bumpy passenger landing ship, and the second time he landed directly in the desert night mecha through the landing cabin on the space cruiser. However, even though it was a passenger landing ship, the huge shaking was very uncomfortable. More than 40 minutes later, the landing spacecraft landed at the landing base. The huge lake was still next to the base, and many space warships were parked in the lake. The original launch track was blown up, and a brand new launch track system was re-established by the lake. Several people got off the landing spacecraft. Zhang Yingying and Vivian, two girls, were not used to the gravity here, and they walked a little shaky. Xia Xingchen led everyone to the lake. He took out a bunch of roses from the insulated box he carried with him, quietly placed it by the lake, and suddenly burst into tears. Perlo behind him whispered to everyone the touching love story between Xia Xingchen and Freya. The two girls cried loudly after hearing it, and Hugo knelt on the ground by the lake and worshipped. Then several people boarded a new type of magnetic levitation troop carrier, which was specially developed by the military for planets with high gravity environments such as Watchstar. Its maximum speed can reach 500 km per hour. There were 7 confirmed members, and the 6 of them did not use a guide. Xia Xingchen drove the magnetic levitation troop carrier straight to the old site of the quicksand base. Before dark, they finally arrived at the supply base, but things had changed, and there was no one Xia Xingchen knew here. Early the next morning, Xia Xingchen set off again and finally arrived at the old site of the Watchstar base at noon. At this time, the old site of the Watchstar base was a huge crater with a diameter of 2 kilometers on the ground. Colonel Nickel detonated a high-yield nuclear bomb buried in the base's underground layer. All the facilities of the base were reduced to dust in the explosion. At the edge of the crater, a 5-meter high, 3-meter wide, and more than 1 meter thick alloy monument was erected. It was made of the damaged mechas that were melted during the attack on the reptile gang base. The names of all the people who died in the catastrophe and the deeds of Colonel Nickel were engraved on it. The group wore radiation protection suits and looked at the words on the monument through masks. They were deeply shocked by the tragic battle. Xia Xingchen took out a bouquet of flowers again and placed it in front of the monument. He and Perlo saluted the monument solemnly. At this time, the voices and smiles of Colonel Nickel, Captain Tor and other comrades appeared in front of them, and the two were deeply immersed in memories and grief. Finally, the time of parting came. Xia Xingchen turned and walked towards the maglev troop carrier. At this moment, he seemed to hear Colonel Nickel jokingly shouting behind him, "Do a good job, lucky little guy, and help me give good news to old Free." Chapter 152, Flying to the Death Star region. 2 days later, everyone returned to the Watchstar space station. At this time, the Black Hole number 1 spacecraft had completed repairs and supplies. 6 people sat in the living room. Except for Hugo, everyone else held a reader in their hands. On it was the information of some major space pirate gangs around Watchstar and the periphery of the Death Star region. Now there are 2 main types of space pirates in the Watchstar region and the periphery of the Death Star region. One is impromptu. There are many space adventurers here. They suffered heavy losses or gained nothing in the Death Star region, so they had evil thoughts and started to do business without capital to stop the loss. Such space pirate incidents actually accounted for the majority in the Death Star region. Most of them also made a fortune and ran away. After all, they had no roots here. If they walked too much at night, they would encounter ghosts sooner or later. It would be a tragedy if they were killed by a black robber one day. However, the military and mercenary management agencies have no way to deal with such impulsive crimes. They can only use video recordings. If a mercenary group encounters these people, they can upload the video recordings to analyze whether the other party is indeed committing robbery. If a mecha is destroyed, a reward of 500,000 star coins will be given. A small spaceship will be destroyed, a medium-sized spaceship will be destroyed, and a large spaceship, such as a heavy cruiser, will be destroyed. A reward of 20 million star coins will be given. A reward of 50 million star coins will be given. This prevents someone from finding someone to pretend to be a star pirate in order to defraud the reward. Because this amount of money is not enough to repair the fuel cost of the mecha and spaceship. The other type is professional star pirates who have a base here, a certain scale, and specialize in robbery. There are 70 or 80 such star pirates on the edge of the Death Star region. Their bases are either abandoned small resource satellites, or abandoned space outposts, or some larger asteroids. In the past few hundred years, the Galactic Empire has invested a lot of manpower and material resources to conquer the Death Star region and build many facilities. Now these facilities have been abandoned and become a paradise for star pirates. However, the bounties for these professional space pirates are much higher. For each mecha destroyed by a space pirate, 10 million star coins are awarded. For each small spaceship destroyed, 100 million star coins are awarded. For each medium-sized spaceship destroyed, 1 billion star coins are awarded. And for each large spaceship destroyed, 5 billion star coins are awarded. The most powerful of these space pirates is a space pirate organization called the Temple of Freedom. They have 5 large spaceships, more than 20 medium-sized spaceships and more than 100 small high-speed spaceships. This space pirate group has been here for decades, and has been tepid until a few months ago when their strength suddenly expanded sharply, and they also destroyed several large space pirate forces in the surrounding area. However, the Freedom Temple space pirates are different from other space pirates. They generally do not harm people's lives. As long as the people who are robbed do not resist, they will take away their property and spaceships, and detain them for a period of time. When they have enough people on a spaceship, they will find a dilapidated spaceship to put the people back. On the contrary, they are very cruel to space pirates, never recruiting, and do not want prisoners. After meeting their peers and defeating them, they are generally stripped naked and thrown into space. Therefore, the military is generally unwilling to embarrass them. The second star pirate force here is the Star Brothers Star Pirates, led by the brothers Alfonso and Alonso. The two have an old heavy space cruiser, 12 medium space cruisers, and more than 80 small spaceships. Both brothers are C-class mecha divisions with strong strength. The individual combat effectiveness of their star pirate group is very strong. The organization is very strict, and it is not easy to deal with. The third largest star pirate force is a big star pirate named Aquino V, who has a heavy cruiser, 2 medium cruisers, and more than 500 small spaceships. The star pirates under Aquino V are the most brutal and the largest in number. The rest are some small minions who are not worth mentioning. Zhang Yingying proposed a battle plan. Black Hole number 1 will sail along the normal route and use the high speed of Black Hole number 1 to get rid of large groups of star pirates when encountering them. If you encounter a small group of star pirates, you will destroy them. In short, the goal is to kill as many pirates as possible while preserving one's own strength. The time is 1 month, and 1 month later, one must return home, otherwise it will be too late to rush back before school starts. More than 10 hours after leaving the Watchstar space station, the yellow alarm on the spacecraft sounded, and Xia Xingchen, Perlo, and Zhang Yingying came to the cockpit. Hao Cheng and Hugo were still resting. There are many emergencies in the Death Star domain, and if it is not necessary, all personnel do not need to be dispatched. What's the situation? Xia Xingchen asked. At a distance of 10,000, at positions 89, 54, and 23, there are 2 small high-speed spacecraft heading towards us. They are constantly adjusting their routes, and are expected to intersect with our navigation orbit in 980 seconds. Zhang Yingying stared at the screen. Everyone, take your positions, and continue to observe. Vivian, try to adjust the route, and see how the other party reacts, Xia Xingchen ordered. Distance 5,000. We adjusted the course of the spacecraft, but they also made the same adjustment. They are coming for us, Zhang Yingying said, and then she gave the order. Detection system fully open, all ship weapon systems charged. Distance 3000, optical imaging system turned on, thermal pattern matching started. Target, small high-speed spacecraft, Far Traveler 8 spacecraft. 2. Mecha pilots stand by. Far Traveler 8 is also a small high-speed spacecraft with excellent performance. It is larger than Far Traveler 5 and has a stronger endurance. Its weapons are 6 laser cannons and can carry 4 mechas. Xia Xingchen was about to go to the mecha warehouse to stand by, and Perlo stood up from the position of the fire control system operator and stopped him. "I'll go. These few minions are not enough." Xia Xingchen was very confident in the strength of this teammate and nodded. Distance 2000. The opponent's mechas are dispatched, a total of 6 space bad mechas, and the opponent sent a communication, asking us to stop the ship and not resist. Ying said. "The mechas are dispatched. Ying will compare them in the database." Xia Xingchen gave the order. "Perlo, White Reaper mechas, dispatch." The hatch of mecha number 5 opened, and the White Reaper mecha flew to the top of the spacecraft carrying a huge mecha laser rifle. The mechanical arm stretched out to fix the mecha, and the mecha laser rifle connected to the spacecraft via an optical cable. The distance is 1000. The other party asked us to stop the ship, otherwise they will open fire. Main guns ready. If the other party opens fire, we will immediately return fire. Enemy mecha is 500 away, within range. At this time, the opposite spacecraft suddenly emitted several lasers. Although they were not aimed, it was also a warning. The other party has opened fire. You can attack Chapter 153 Death Star Hotel. 5 lasers shot out from the top of the black hole number 1 spacecraft, then stopped for 2 seconds, and another laser flew out, and 6 balls of sparks exploded in space. All 6 enemy mechas are destroyed, and the enemy ship is 500 meters away. Main gun laser salvo. As soon as Zhang Yingying finished speaking, the 2 laser main guns of the black hole number 1 shot out 2 thick green lasers, and one of the Far Traveler number 8 was hit. A laser hit its cockpit, and the spacecraft exploded, becoming a ball of fireworks in space. Seeing that the situation was not good, the other spacecraft quickly did an extremely difficult horizontal roll in space, then turned around and ran back. The enemy ship is 480 meters away, and it turned around to escape. At this time, 5 more lasers were fired from the mecha. In the optical imaging system, it can be seen that the opponent's stern thruster was destroyed by the laser. The speed of the spacecraft suddenly slowed down, and the people on the spacecraft fell into deep despair. They were space explorers from afar. They wanted to find some rare minerals, alien relics or something in the Death Star region, but they were unlucky and encountered space pirates. Although they escaped by chance, they lost 2 mechas and the appearance of the spacecraft was also scarred. So the captain had a crooked idea and planned to rob a ticket before leaving, at least to earn back the travel expenses, but he didn't know that he kicked on the iron plate. 2 more lasers flashed by, and the laser main gun of black hole number 1 fired again, and the opposite spacecraft was blown up. Hey, sooner or later, you have to pay for what you have done. Why do you have to go the wrong way? Xia Xingchen sighed. Because many of them have sold all their assets, including houses and all their properties, and paid off a lot of loans. Some people are lucky enough to become rich overnight after 1 or 2 space transport trips, while others lose everything and either commit suicide or become miners when they return. I think this is why they do this. Vivian explained. Her father was a space explorer, but he has now retired safely, which makes her very relieved. The results of the battle have been transmitted to the Mercenary Management Agency. This time we destroyed a total of 6 space pirate mechas, with a total of 3 million star coins, and destroyed 2 small spaceships with a reward of 10 million star coins. The total profit of this battle is 13 million. Zhang Yingying said. It's too little. Miss Vivian was very frustrated. 2 days later, the black hole number 1 spacecraft finally approached the Death Star domain. Looking from the periphery of the Death Star domain, the entire Death Star domain is like a colorful wall, and no one knows what is inside the wall. The entire Death Star domain is shrouded in a special particle, which has a great influence on light and radio waves. It reduces the detection distance of spacecraft sensors, radars, etc. by nearly 2/3, and the effective range of lasers is reduced to 1/10 of the original. These particles will absorb and refract lasers. Moreover, the celestial environment in the Death Star domain is very complex. There are many celestial bodies such as neutron stars, white dwarfs, red giants and even black holes. The space here is also unstable, filled with stellar storms, space meteorite showers, magnetic storms and other space disasters. The light of various celestial bodies is refracted and scattered in the particles, forming this wall of light. What is even more terrifying is the large number of wormholes in the Death Star domain. The wormholes here are very dense and appear from time to time. No one knows where they lead to, and most of the spacecraft have never come out after entering the wormhole. The decrease in the detection range of the spacecraft also means that when space travelers find danger, they have almost no time to react. In addition, there are so many space pirates here that they can basically not escape by the time they are discovered. Xingchen, your long-range sniping will probably be useless in this battle. The range of the laser sniper rifle here is only 50 kilometers, which is the limit, and long-range shooting must be tested to measure the refractive index of the laser. Zhang Yingying frowned, a little worried. The famous Death Star Hotel is in front. Wei Weiyan said, we can rest there, taste the local food, and visit the Death Star market. By the way, we can get some information. But the charges here are very expensive. Captain, you make the decision. Everyone looked out through the cockpit window and saw a spindle-shaped medium-sized space station in front of them. The volume was less than a quarter of the size of the Watchstar space station. There were 30 or 40 spaceship berths above the spindle-shaped disk and 50 spaceship berths below the disk. There are only 5 ships parked in the berths above the disk, while there are more than 40 ships parked in the berths below the disk. The bottom of the spindle-shaped space station is a huge circular metal building with a diameter of more than 10 kilometers. The berths above are for higher-level ships, such as our small ships, and the berthing fee is 5 million star coins per day. The berths below are ordinary berths, and the berthing fee is 2 million star coins per day. Vivian said. This is simply robbing money, Zhang Yingying exclaimed. What is the difference between these two berths? The high-level berths on the upper level have special security personnel, and the ship can be absolutely assured when it is parked there, ensuring that your ship is absolutely safe. There are no special guards in the berths on the lower level. You know, there are quite a few pirates who come here to consume. Although they don't rob blatantly, it is inevitable that they will steal or do something on the ship. Vivian explained. There are still pirates here? What's going on? Doesn't the army care? Xia Xingchen was very curious. So Vivian gave a detailed introduction to the origin of the Death Star Sea Hotel. The current leader of the hotel industry in the Galactic Empire is the Cosmic Hotel Group, which has hundreds of millions of hotels and resorts throughout the Milky Way. 300 years ago, humans set off a wave of exploration of the Death Star domain. At that time, hundreds of spaceships would fly to the Death Star domain every day. The Cosmic Hotel Group saw a business opportunity, so they invested heavily and spent decades to build the Death Star Sea Hotel on the edge of the Death Star domain. Later, the bloody results of the pioneers who explored the Death Star domain extinguished the enthusiasm of these interstellar explorers to explore the Death Star domain, and only a few space explorer ships flew here every day. But later, the Star Pirates gradually became regular guests of this hotel. In addition to providing ordinary space adventurers with services such as parking, material supplies, loot realization, relaxation, and leisure, the Death Star Sea Hotel also provides those Star Pirates with money laundering, selling stolen goods, weapons black market, hostage redemption agency and other services. In order to maintain normal business order, the Death Star Sea Space Hotel and its 50-kilometer radius are prohibited from using force, otherwise they will be devastated by the hotel. The hotel itself has a convoy consisting of 2 heavy cruisers and 50 medium cruisers, as well as a mecha unit consisting of several thousand mecha divisions. Military warships also regularly travel between the hotel and the Watchstar space station. The pirates will also consciously abide by the order here, otherwise once they are on the hotel's blacklist, they will have great problems with selling stolen goods and supplying materials. In addition, the space environment here is harsh, and they cannot stay on their own pirate spaceship forever. In addition, if you park your spaceship in the advanced berth, you can enjoy a 20% discount on all consumption in this hotel, including the handling fee for auction items. Vivian added. Then, let's go to the advanced berth area now. In this place, safety comes first. Everyone should have a good rest and take a good walk. Then you can kill a few more pirates. Xia Xingchen still had more than 10 billion star coins in his account. This was his dividend, and what was left, after deducting the cost of buying the spacecraft. Besides, he had already eliminated a lot of star pirates on this trip, and had a lot of gains, so he didn't have to worry about money. Chapter 154 Attack. The spaceship stopped at the high-level berth area, and a space engineering mecha came to help fix the spaceship immediately. Everyone got off the spaceship, and Xia Xingchen prepaid the parking fee for 5 days in advance. This fee can be refunded if it is not used up. Everyone took the ferry flying car to leave the dock berth and headed to the core area of the space station. Xia Xingchen directly opened a luxury suite, 500,000 star coins per day. This luxury suite has 4 separate bedrooms, a conference room, a restaurant, and a huge observation deck. Everyone put their luggage away, walked out of the residence together, and came to the street of the space station. It was very lively here, and people dressed in all kinds of styles were shoulder to shoulder. Among them, there were many people with fierce faces and various weapons. They were star pirates at a glance. They were all handsome men and beautiful women in their 20s, and there was also a 2-meter tall blue-skinned alien who was particularly eye-catching. Not far behind them, there was a vicious look staring at Xia Xingchen. But what this person didn't know was that his action of observing Xia Xingchen here had long been noticed by Xia Xingchen. This man was a tall black man with well-developed muscles. He was the C-class mecha master Holia who was beaten up by Xia Xingchen and Freya on Watchstar more than a year ago. In the desert goddess bar in the quicksand base, Holia and several of his men flirted with Freya, but Freya kicked him in the vitals, breaking his balls. The cost of treatment cost him several years of savings. One of his men was shot dead by Li Pai because he wanted to sneak attack Xia Xingchen from behind. He left Watchstar in embarrassment. For more than a year, he has been thinking about revenge all the time. But Xia Xingchen is an active soldier, so he can't do it on Watchstar. But now that he met him in this lawless Death Star region, he suddenly had the desire to kill Xia Xingchen. But Xia Xingchen didn't worry about his revenge at all. If he could barely defeat Holia with his inside skills a year ago, after more than a year of training by Lieutenant Colonel Bersi and Qin Ren, his ability is enough to beat Holia. Besides, he also had Hao Cheng, a master with higher martial arts than him. He had sparred with Hao Cheng many times. Hao Cheng had practiced martial arts since he was a child and had experienced life and death. In terms of single-round martial arts, Xia Xingchen was no match for him. After enjoying a sumptuous meal, several people continued to stroll around. There was a park area in front of them. After a long journey in space, it was really a pleasure to breathe fresh air and feel the green plants. But there were not many people in the park at this time. At this time, Hao Cheng and Perlo both felt the danger. A total of more than a dozen people came to them from all directions. Xingchen, there is danger. We may be ambushed. Perlo reminded. There are a total of 20 people. The leader had a conflict with me, Xia Xingchen said. Hao Cheng rubbed his hands. Xingchen, you can't compete with me. I've been holding it in for more than a month. Xia Xingchen nodded. The leading black guys handed over to me, and the remaining 19 are all yours. You go. You are responsible for protecting the 2 beautiful ladies. Perlo, you are responsible for recording and preserving evidence. Yes, master, Hugo replied. I started recording when I found it just now, Perlo replied. His electronic eyes can record with just a thought. Those people gradually approached. Most of them held weapons, daggers, iron bars, chains, etc. in their hands. Seeing this, Hao Cheng put his right hand fingers together and made 2 hand knives towards the guardrail on the side. The 3 or 4 centimeters thick alloy tube was cut off by a nearly 2-meter long section. Hao Cheng felt more at ease. With the iron bar in his hand, he was not afraid, even if the other side had 20 more people. Soon, the 2 sides met together, less than 5 meters apart. Stop, Kit, Holia shouted. It's you? What's the matter? Why are you blocking the way? Have you forgotten what you did in Watchstar? You can't run away today. I will make you live a life worse than death. Holla gritted his teeth and said. That was just a misunderstanding. Tell me a condition. What will it take for you to let us go? Xia Xingchen said jokingly. Seeing that Xia Xingchen seemed to have given in, Holla was very proud. At this time, he looked up and saw the sexy and enchanting Vivian and the petite and cute Zhang Yingiying behind Xia Xingchen. and immediately his lust went to his head. If you want me to let you go, you can. How about this? You 3 men kneel down and lick my shoes, and then let the 2 girls behind you accompany me and my brothers to have fun for a few days, and then compensate me with 500 million star coins, and I will let you go. Holla made his rude request. Chapter 155 Trial. Holla proposed that Xia Xingchen and his men kneel down to lick his shoes, and that Vivian and Zhang Yingying sleep with him and his little brothers. He also asked Xia Xingchen to compensate him with 500 million star coins. Xia Xingchen showed a cruel smile on his face. It seems that your balls are not broken once, and you want to break them again. Holla was angry and embarrassed by Xia Xingchen's touch. The last time his balls were kicked, his men laughed at him behind his back. Now that this matter was made fun of again, he really couldn't stand it. Boy, you're dead. Holla's body suddenly bounced up and kicked Xia Xingchen's head with a flying kick. He used combat skills right from the start, and it was clear that he wanted to kill Xia Xingchen. But in Xia Xingchen's eyes, Holla's movements were like slow motion, with flaws everywhere. He lowered his body to avoid his flying kick and kicked sideways, kicking Holla's waist. Ah! Holla screamed. His body flew out more than 10 meters away and fell heavily on the garden fence, unable to stand up again. Xia Xingchen did not hold back at all. Qin Ren and Colonel Bessie had taught him that being kind to the enemy was cruel to oneself. Seeing that their boss suffered a loss in a one-on-one duel, his brothers rushed forward, waving their weapons and rushing towards Xia Xingchen and his men. But before they could get close, Hao Qing had already rushed up with a strange cry. He waved a nearly 2-meter-long alloy steel pipe, and the daggers and iron rods in those people's hands flew out when they touched the steel pipe. Those who were swept by the iron rod either broke their arms or legs. In less than a minute, none of Holla's brothers could stand up. There were people groaning all over the ground, and several people's arms and legs were directly torn off their bodies because Hao Qing's stick wind was too fierce, like a knife. Xia Xingchen ignored these brothers and went straight to Holla, who had just struggled to stand up. A kick flew up and hit him in the chest. Holla was kicked more than 5 meters away and fell heavily to the ground. Holla was severely injured. 4 ribs were broken, and even the lumbar spine was injured. He could never get up again. At this time, Miss Vivian rushed up, raised her beautiful legs wearing women's high-heeled military boots, and stepped hard between Holla's legs, so people heard the sound of something breaking again. Vivian stepped on it and shouted, "If you dare to ask me to accompany you, I will accompany you. Well, accompany you, accompany you." She stomped on it every time she said accompany you, and Holla fainted on the spot from the pain. All the male creatures present subconsciously clamped their legs. At this time, a burst of rapid sirens sounded, and a fully armed guard team consisting of dozens of people rushed over. They were armed with live ammunition, and their guns were aimed at several people. There was also a police mecha behind them. "Listen, people in front. You used force in the Death Star Hotel, which seriously violated the rules of this hotel. I ask you to quickly lay down your weapons, accept trial and punishment. If you dare to resist, you will be killed on the spot." Xia Xingchen stepped forward. "We have read your rules. You can reasonably use legitimate defense when you encounter violent attacks. This gang of people extorted and occupied our female companions. They were the first to attack. You also saw that more than 20 of them attacked 6 of us. We were justified in defense." The soldier who came closer looked at the broken limbs in front of him and frowned. "No matter who is the victim, you must go with us and go to the trial hall for trial. The presiding judge will determine whether you are guilty based on your actual situation. You must know that we have surveillance cameras everywhere here. We will not slander good people, and we will not let a bad person go." Xia Xingchen nodded. He knew that the soldier was right about the surveillance cameras everywhere. The reason why Holla chose to start here was because his brother saw that there were no surveillance cameras here. But Xia Xingchen used his inside skills to find that there were dozens of surveillance cameras of all sizes hidden in the bushes, on street lamps, and even in the sky. Xia Xingchen nodded to Hao Qing, who made a flower with a stick and threw it into the flower bed, sticking it into the ground more than a meter deep. "Lead the way," Xia Xingchen said. The leading soldier saw his momentum and the tragic scene on the ground. He knew that the fighting power of these people in front of him was off the charts and they were very difficult to mess with. Since they were willing to cooperate, he was embarrassed to handcuff them. And these people on the ground were taken to the hospital of the Death Star Hotel by the soldiers like dead dogs for emergency treatment. As for the cost of treatment, of course it was very high. What? What if you can't afford it? Don't you still have mechas and spaceships? They can be auctioned on the spot to pay for medical expenses. Some of the pirates are willing to pay for it. The 6 people were taken to an armored maglev troop carrier. Half an hour later, they arrived at a building the size of a gymnasium. A sword and a scale-like symbol were carved on the top of the building's gate. The 6 people walked into the building and found that it was a court-like building with more than 50 seats for spectators. This was the trial hall that the soldier mentioned. In the judge's seat in the hall sat a dignified old man in his 70s. He looked gloomy and looked at the few people thoughtfully. On both sides of the court were dozens of fully armed soldiers. The person in the judge's seat was called Merc. He was a B-level mecha master. He was the general manager of the Universe Hotel Group in the Death Star domain, the general manager of the Universe Star Sea Hotel's armed forces, and the chief judge who maintained the normal order of the Death Star Sea Hotel. Merkel looked at the few people and asked the soldiers who brought them, "Why are these people not handcuffed? Where are the people on the other side?" Report to Judge Merkel. Mr. Xia Xingchen said that they were attacked and it was self-defense, and Mr. Xia cooperated very well. "We don't want to cause more misunderstandings and damage, so we directly invite Mr. Xia Xingchen and his party to the court." His words were very artistic, and the subtext was that these people were difficult to deal with and didn't want to cause trouble. Judge Merkel nodded, and he immediately understood what the soldier meant. Then he called up the video of the scene of the incident, and the surveillance video of the incident was played on the big screen. From the video, the 2 gangs met, said a few words, and started fighting after a disagreement, but the 2 people in front of them beat 20 people, as if they were slaughtering. Judge Merkel frowned. From the video, "You are fighting, not self-defense, and there is insufficient evidence." "Please wait, Judge." Perlo walked forward, his eyes looking at the big screen, and the electronic eye automatically transmitted a video to the playback device. This was recorded by Perlo, starting from when they discovered the attacker, including all the conversations. Merc nodded after watching it. This video clearly recorded the whole process of the incident. He officially pronounced, through the video, Xia Xingchen and others were indeed acting in self-defense. "This court finds you not guilty, but this person destroyed the park facilities, and you will be fined 1 million star coins." As he said, he pointed at Hao Cheng. Hao Cheng's face turned bitter at that moment. "Thank you, Mr. Judge, for your keen observation. We will pay the fine immediately," Xia Xingchen said with a smile. "Mr. Judge, according to the regulations, you have to give us a 20% discount on the ships anchored in the high-end area." Miss Vivian, who was obsessed with money, suddenly blurted out so many words, and Judge Merck almost bit off his tongue. It seems that no one has dared to bargain with the presiding judge for so many years, but it seems that there is really such a rule. A 20% discount, then a fine of 800,000. Adjournment. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 156, Accepting the Mission. Several people walked out of the courtroom, and everyone felt very novel about this experience. However, Hollow's gang was miserable. The high medical expenses of more than 20 people, the key is that they used force illegally around the Death Star Hotel, and their spacecraft and all property will be confiscated. Then this gang will be sold to other mineral planets as miners. The commercial area of the Death Star Hotel is probably the most attractive place here. There are fixed shops, auction centers, roadside stalls, and even mission release centers. Of course, the mission release center here is not the mercenary management agency, but is led by the Death Star Hotel. Here, even star pirates can issue and complete missions to get rewards. Xia Xingchen asked Hao Cheng and Perlo to take the 2 girls to stroll around the commercial area, and he took Hugo here to check the missions. As long as you buy a dedicated mission reading terminal here and register an account, you can query and accept missions at any time through the hotel's local area network. Of course, the management fee is also 15%. Xia Xingchen also got one. He looked at these tasks, and the most of them were looking for certain materials, such as special ores. These things can only be found in the depths of the Death Star region. The second most common task is to purchase various weapons. There are not many sources of weapons for star pirates. In addition to robbing, it is very common to buy and exchange weapons here. The third most common task is to seek revenge. Between star pirates and adventurers, between star pirates and star pirates, between the military and star pirates, every day there is a big drama of you kill me, and I kill you. There are also people who offer awards to each other. Maybe one day there will be an interstellar hero who will eliminate violence and protect the good. Even if you can't kill the other party, you can disgust the other party to death. However, a major feature of these tasks is that you don't have to accept any task in advance. As long as you can achieve the goal of the task, you can come to claim the task reward at any time. Xia Xingchen has a general understanding of the tasks posted here. At this time, a task suddenly came into view: recruiting senior mecha repairmen to assemble a mecha. The location is in the senior berth area of the Death Star Sea Hotel. If the assembly is unsuccessful, there will still be a reward of 50 million star coins. If the assembly is successful, there will be a reward of 500 million star coins. Xia Xingchen was interested, not for the reward, but mainly because he hadn't assembled a mecha for a long time, and he was a little itchy. This is easy to understand. Many technical people have this occupational disease. Xia Xingchen accepted the task and scanned his ID card of a senior mecha maintenance technician with a reader. 3 minutes later, several people appeared in front of him. These people were wearing ordinary spaceship work clothes. The leader was a girl who wore a mask that blocked the upper half of her face, but it was still possible to see that the girl was very beautiful. A person behind her came in front of him with a reader. He looked at Xia Xingchen with some doubts. The young man in front of him was too young. It was unlikely that he was an intermediate mecha maintenance technician, let alone a senior mecha maintenance technician. As for the tall alien next to him, it was even more impossible. He had never heard of the Terami people being able to repair mechas. After a while, these people really didn't find anyone else around, so they came to Xia Xingchen again. The girl asked, "Excuse me, are you Xia Xingchen, the mecha maintenance technician?" "Yes, that's me." "Are you a senior mecha maintenance technician?" The girl hesitated. Xia Xingchen took out his senior mecha maintenance technician ID card and handed it to the girl. The girl carefully checked it and then bowed deeply to Xia Xingchen. "Mr. Xia, I'm sorry, we are rude." "It's okay, I'm too young. It's understandable that you don't believe it. I'm used to it. We can go to see the mecha now. By the way, what's your name, miss?" Xia Xingchen said. "Just call me Chinzinger," the girl said. "Please come this way, Mr. Xia." She made a gesture of invitation. "You can call me Xia Xingchen or Xingchen. Don't call me Mr. I'm not that old," Xia Xingchen said, and boarded a luxurious shuttle with her and went to the high-end berthing area. On the way, he notified Zhang Yingying and others through his personal terminal, letting them move freely and not to worry. Moreover, the Death Star Hotel also provides guarantee services for this kind of technical personnel recruitment task. Once the employer has a crooked idea to kidnap the mecha repairman, the hotel will not sit idly by. The shuttle bus came to the front of Chenzinger's berth. This is an old-fashioned S-class heavy space mecha cruiser. This cruiser is also huge among heavy cruisers. It can carry 80 mechas. The crowd did not come to the cruiser, but to the warehouse under the dock berth. This warehouse is also for the free use of the owner of the berthed spacecraft, and various materials can be temporarily stored. At this time, the warehouse has been filled with various materials. There is also a special area here, where there are 5 mecha maintenance operating tables, surrounded by mecha accessories. A group of technicians are arguing fiercely around the big screen. Chenzinger invited Xia Xingchen to the lounge next to her. She personally poured him a cup of coffee and brought electronic drawings. When Xia Xingchen saw this mecha, his heart beat violently. because the appearance of the mecha that appeared in front of him was the Bloody Queen, the private mecha that Father Free built for Freya at the Watchstar Quicksand base. Ms. Chenzinger, where did you get this design drawing? Don't get me wrong, I think it is very similar to the private mecha of a good friend of mine. Xia Xingchen asked. We bought it from the black market at a high price, spending more than 1 billion star coins. Chenzinger replied. Oh, that's it. Xia Xingchen was a little depressed, but he still forced himself to continue reading. Xia Xingchen looked at the drawings silently, his brows gradually frowned, and he didn't speak for a long time. After more than an hour, Xia Xingchen put the drawings aside and rubbed his eyes. What's the matter, Master Xia Xingchen? What went wrong? Chenzinger asked anxiously. At this time, several mecha repairmen who were arguing outside were very curious when they heard that a senior mecha repairman had arrived. However, when they saw that the so-called senior mecha repairman was such a young man, some were shocked and others were full of disdain and doubt. Hearing Chenzinger's question, they all shut their mouths, waiting for Xia Xingchen's answer. Chapter 157 The Problem with the Mecha. Facing Chenzinger's question and the questioning eyes of other mecha maintenance engineers, Xia Xingchen gave his answer. Rubbish. The design of this mecha is simply rubbish. How can such a mecha fight on the battlefield? Xia Xingchen commented bluntly from a professional perspective. Nonsense. Insolent. You are an ignorant kid. Where did you come from? Xia Xingchen's answer was like throwing a cigarette butt into a pile of gunpowder, and the scene immediately boiled up. The group of intermediate mecha maintenance engineers were indignant because those mecha design drawings were the result of the joint efforts of this group of people. They themselves were also the best mecha maintenance engineers in the Death Star Hotel area, but they received a rubbish evaluation, so they naturally couldn't stand it. Little hairy kid, I don't know where you came from. Since you said our design drawings are rubbish, then please explain the reason, otherwise, we will never let you go. You are so young, and you are cheating. One of the oldest mecha maintenance engineers said. Now there are no senior mecha maintenance technicians in the entire Death Star Hotel, so they are unwilling to come to this dangerous and desolate place, and this old maintenance technician is almost the most skilled mecha maintenance technician in the entire Death Star region. Xia Xingchen glanced at him sideways, without saying a word, took out an electronic writing pen, and began to modify the electronic drawing. The changes on the drawing were projected on the big screen. Gradually, the group of people were stunned, and Xia Xingchen deleted everything they designed in the mecha and restored it to its original appearance. More than an hour later, the original appearance of the Bloody Queen mecha appeared on the mecha drawing. This is. The old technician was stunned. This is the true appearance of the mecha you modified. Miss Chen Crossinger, if I'm not mistaken, all you got are the repair and maintenance drawings of the mecha, not the complete design drawings. Xia Xingchen asked. Chenzinger nodded in disbelief, and the technicians also showed disbelief on their faces. Generally speaking, there are two types of mecha drawings. One is the full mecha design drawing. It details the size of each part of the mecha, the material and other design parameters, the assembly sequence, etc. The mecha maintenance drawing is much rougher, and many things and parameters are only roughly marked. Some parameters and drawings involving core components are even omitted. Generally, the owners of newly manufactured mechas or private mechas present this kind of mecha maintenance drawings when they perform mecha maintenance. What Chenzinger got was indeed the maintenance drawings of the Bloody Queen mecha, and on this basis, this group of half-baked mecha repairmen modified it according to the requirements of the mecha technician. The result was indeed neither fish nor fowl, and the mecha couldn't even start normally. If I'm not mistaken, your mecha technician is a mental telepath, and his mental telepathic attribute is ice attribute. I can see this from their modification design. Xia Xingchen continued. As soon as this sentence came out, all the other mecha maintenance technicians present were dumbfounded. If Xia Xingchen's hand in restoring the mecha design drawings just now stunned many people, then now that he has pointed out the identity of the mecha master and the demand for mechas, based on the drawings alone, they can't help but be dissatisfied. You are so right, Master Xia Xingchen. How do you think this problem should be solved? Chenzinger asked anxiously. Many design concepts of this mecha conflict with what this mecha master requires, so your modification design is simply a dog's tail. It is not even compatible with the operating system, and even the mecha cannot be started. Therefore, it can only be redesigned. Xia Xingchen expressed his opinion. All the mecha masters lowered their heads in shame after hearing this. And the oldest mecha master bowed deeply to Xia Xingchen to express his apology. How about this, master? On the basis of the 500 million star coins, I will give you an additional 1.5 billion star coins. Please help me redesign this mecha, please. Chen Xing'e said anxiously. The other mecha masters had very complicated expressions after hearing this, and their eyes were full of envy and jealousy. But they had no choice. In this industry, technology is king. Others can earn this money because they have advanced technology. You can't reach this technology, and even if the star coins are placed in front of you, it is not so easy to get them. Xia Xingchen thought for a while and said, Miss Xing'e, do you think this will work? You go back and give me the information about the mecha master, including his physical data, combat habits, and superpowers. I will complete the design drawings of the modified mecha within 5 days. In about a month, I will go to the edge of the Death Star domain with my companions to explore. You can use this month to customize the accessories of the mecha, and then I will contact you in a month and help you assemble the mecha. Chen Xing'e thought for a while and said, there is no problem with this, but the Death Star domain is densely populated by star pirates, the celestial conditions are complicated, and the danger is extremely great. It is really not suitable for interstellar navigation. Master, you should stay here, and I will bear all your expenses here. I'm sorry Miss Xing'e, my companions and I came here just to complete the mission and train ourselves. Hiding here is no different from flowers in a greenhouse. As for my safety, you don't have to worry. My companions and I are all C-level mecha masters. Everyone was shocked by Xia Xingchen again. C-level mecha masters and senior mecha maintenance technicians are not uncommon, but they are definitely rare. After all, people's energy is limited, and everyone has their own expertise. It is far from enough to be a genius, to be so outstanding in 2 fields. Chen Xing'e thought for a long time, and finally made up her mind. She pulled Xia Xingchen aside and said, Master Xia Xingchen, to tell you the truth, we are the largest armed organization on the edge of the Death Star domain, the Freedom Temple. But we are different from ordinary pirates. Although we also carry out some robbery activities, we never harm the lives of travelers. On the contrary, we are mortal enemies with pirates. If we encounter other pirates, we will never leave them alive. On average, we will eliminate more than a dozen pirates every year. I've already guessed it. The Sierra-class heavy cruiser at the berth is your flagship, the Statue of Liberty, if I'm not mistaken. Xia Xingchen had already memorized the information of the surrounding pirates. However, there were still some questions he hadn't figured out. Why don't you harm the lives of the travelers, but instead kill other pirates? I don't quite understand. Is there any special reason for this? Xia Xingchen continued to ask. Chen Xing'e was silent. After a long time, she slowly opened her mouth and asked, Xingchen, what do you think of the relationship between the miners and the free people? As she spoke, she looked at Xia Xingchen nervously, looking forward to his answer. Chapter 158 Agree to Cooperation. Chen Xing'e was very nervous to know what Xia Xingchen thought about the relationship between miners and freemen. She wanted to use the power of the Free Temple to protect Xia Xingchen, who was about to enter the Death Star region. But if Xia Xingchen was a miner's enemy, then the cooperation could not go on, and even the design of the mecha could not go on, so she was looking forward to Xia Xingchen's answer. I think this policy of dividing people into different levels according to their origins is very unreasonable and cruel. It is very unfair and inhumane. You know, people cannot choose their origins. Don't ask me why I think so, because 3 years ago, my father and I were miners. In the mines of Manastar, we struggled to survive. If I hadn't been lucky enough to have some adventures and met a noble person to help me, I would have become the excrement of the beast by now. Xia Xingchen recalled the unbearable past. If there was no strange pyramid, he didn't know what he would be like. Great. Chen Xing'e was so happy that she almost jumped up, but then she felt that she had lost her composure. I'm not saying that you're a miner, I mean. She didn't know what to say. Well, let's put it this way. We are not pirates, but a resistance organization of miners, a branch of the Galactic Freedom Army. We have no choice but to carry out some looting activities here. We just want to feed ourselves, continue to fight against the Galactic Empire government, and work hard for the freedom of miners. As for pirates, they don't regard miners as human beings at all. They treat miners more cruelly than animals. So, we never let any pirates go. Chenzinger was anxious and revealed their true identities. Are you the Galactic Freedom Army? Then I'll ask you a question, Miss Chenzinger. I hope you can answer me truthfully, which will be related to whether we can continue to cooperate. Xia Xingchen looked into her eyes and said seriously. Chenzinger nodded when she saw this. In recent months, our Galactic Empire has experienced many terrorist attacks against large companies and senior government officials. Is this really done by your Galactic Freedom Army? I want to know the answer, the real answer. Chenzinger's eyes dimmed. After a long while, she said, Xingchen, I don't know how to make you trust me. I can only tell you truthfully that the assassination of Prince Nicholas at the Xia Star Canal space station a few months ago was indeed done by our Galaxy Freedom Army. At that time, we had internal disagreements, and some radicals planned this incident, but they also wanted to avoid war. Not long ago, Prince Nicholas used a fleet to bomb a mining planet in order to suppress the uprising of the miners, causing the deaths of more than 80 million miners. And because of whether to use terrorist means to carry out assassinations, our Galaxy Freedom Army split. I took some rational people in the Galaxy Freedom Army and dispersed to these remote star regions to lurk, quietly develop strength, and avoid the revenge of the Empire and Prince Nicholas. I dare to say responsibly that except for this incident, all other attacks were done by the old fox Nicholas under the banner of our Galaxy Freedom Army. You know, we have no reason to do this, and the consequence of doing so is that nearly 80% of our strength has been destroyed, and a large number of miners have been kept away from and wary of us. Xia Xingchen continued. Chenzinger, let me ask you another question. If one day a civil war breaks out between the current government of the Galactic Empire and Prince Nicholas, can you, the Galactic Freedom Army, temporarily put aside your prejudices and help the government fight against Prince Nicholas? Chenzinger nodded vigorously. In terms of the view on Prince Nicholas, the various factions within our Galactic Freedom Army and all other miners' resistance organizations are highly consistent. He is the #1 enemy of all miners. If Nicholas becomes the ruler of the empire, it will be a disaster for all miners, and he will kill all the miners. We have analyzed his personality, and anyone who prevents him from achieving his goals will be ruthlessly eliminated by him. I even dare to promise here that, if a civil war really breaks out, we will never hold back the government forces. As long as the government forces do not take the opportunity to deal with us, we can even consider cooperating to a certain extent. After hearing Chenzinger's answer, Xia Xingchen felt relieved. Through his analysis and the intelligence he had already obtained, he felt that Chenzinger was not lying, and she was still very sincere. He and Chenzinger left each other their personal terminal contact numbers, and Chenzinger would transmit the Mecha Master's information to Xia Xingchen later. Afterwards, Chenzinger personally sent Xia Xingchen back to her residence. Later that day, Chenzinger returned to her flagship, the Statue of Liberty, a heavy space cruiser. Chenzinger was just an alias. Her real name was Chen Tingting. She was the daughter of the leader of the Galactic Freedom Army. Since Nicholas was assassinated on Xia Star, the two major factions of the Galactic Freedom Army have parted ways. In order to preserve strength, Chen Tingting dispersed her father's men to various remote star regions to avoid the attack of the Galactic Empire government. She personally came to the Death Star region, using the alias Chenzinger, where she continued to expand her team by looting, training soldiers, and eliminating star pirates by the way. She came to her own room on the ship, which was a room for 2 people to live in. Chen Tingting lived here with her good sister Natalia. Sister Natalia, there is hope for your new mecha. Today we contacted a senior mecha repairman. He is young, but has superb skills. He saw the problem with the mecha at a glance, and now he has agreed to help us redesign your new mecha. In another month, you will get the new mecha. Thank you, Tingting. You are so kind to me, Natalia said gratefully. Sister, don't say that. It was just a piece of cake to save you. Later you saved me twice. We are even a long time ago. Now we are sisters, and we should never say who owes whom. I heard that the senior mecha repair technician is very young. How young is he? Natalia was curious. Look, this is him. I secretly took a picture of him. Isn't he handsome? Chapter 159 The Resurrection of the Queen. Natalia asked Chen Tingting about the young senior mecha maintenance technician, and Chen Tingting projected the photo she secretly took on the monitor on the wall in the house. When Natalia saw the young and handsome face on the monitor on the wall, she felt that this person was very familiar, as if she had seen him somewhere. She tried to recall. Xia Xingchen? Where have I seen him? Oops. Her head hurt again. Sister Natalia, what's wrong with you? My head hurts again. Chen Tingting hurried over to support her. I'm fine. Natalia took a deep breath and sat there blankly, her thoughts drifting to the past. A year ago, Chen Tingting brought dozens of guards and came to Watchstar under the banner of adventurers to eliminate insects, and landed in a small spaceship. Their spaceship was very advanced and could take off and land directly under the gravity and atmospheric environment of Watchstar. The spaceship was parked in the big lake next to the Watchstar landing base. But on the second day after they landed, Yuri and Andre launched an operation to retaliate against the quicksand base and the golden cicada escape. At that time, the pirate Mechas that attacked the base immediately attacked the spaceship parked on the lake. Chen Tingting immediately ordered the spaceship to divergently and sink to the bottom of the lake to avoid being destroyed by the Mechas of the sand pirates. They hid at the bottom of the lake and carefully observed the battle outside with a periscope. Later, Colonel Bercy and Freya hurried over and fought fiercely with the sand pirates and Andre's men. In the fierce battle, Andre's Revenge Wolf mecha sneaked up on Freya's wrench number 2, which was hit by 4 lasers and disintegrated in the air above the lake. The huge explosion tore the cockpit, and Freya's head was severely hit by the shock wave of the explosion and fainted. At this critical moment, Freya's mental power suddenly broke out. Not long ago, Freya and Xia Xingchen tasted the forbidden fruit of love, and both broke through the 20th level of mental power. Xia Xingchen acquired the new skill of mental clone. But there was no change in Freya. This was because there were too few people who had awakened their mental power, and many people's mental power did not immediately show up when they reached level 20. This required an opportunity. Freya had the opportunity to awaken her mental power at a critical moment. She passed out, but her body's instinct to face danger caused her mental power to suddenly burst out. A huge cold air burst out from her body, instantly condensing the surrounding water vapor into a huge ice block. This ice block was very hard. It withstood a large number of explosion shock waves and saved her life. However, the density of this ice block was very high, and it slowly sank to the bottom of the water. After falling into the water, it finally fell next to Chen Tingting's spaceship. Chen Tingting immediately ordered the mechanical arm to collect the ice block into the spaceship. After 3 full days, the ice block slowly melted, revealing the scarred Freya. Chen Tingting ordered people to send her to the biological treatment chamber. In order not to attract the attention of the military and expose their identities, Chen Tingting and his group secretly left the Watchstar. 5 days later, Freya slowly woke up from her deep sleep, but her brain was severely damaged. She couldn't remember who she was or where she was. At this time, her IQ seemed to be only 5 years old. Chen Tingting took Freya with her and took good care of her and gave her a new name, Natalia. In the ancient Earth language, Natalia means the resurrected goddess. Chen Tingting gave her such a name to encourage her to get a new life. In the following year or so, Freya was often troubled by headaches, but later the number of headaches became less and less. And every time she experienced a headache, she would always think of some things in the past, but she still couldn't remember who she was and where she came from. Later, Chen Tingting contacted local miners' representatives in various parts of the Galactic Empire and encountered many dangers, attacks by star pirates and encirclement and suppression by the Galactic Empire. The most dangerous time was when she was surrounded and Natalia snatched a mecha and rescued Chen Tingting. This happened many times later. The relationship between the two was like sisters. In order for Natalia to better display her strength in battle, Chen Tingting decided to build a private mecha for her. When they rescued Freya, they found that she was carrying a data storage device, which contained the maintenance diagrams of the Bloody Queen and wrench number 2 mechas. Chen Tingting arranged for her mecha repairman to transform the Bloody Queen. However, these mediocre mecha repairmen simply could not understand Father Free's design ideas, and their modifications based on experience were destined to become a laughingstock. Chen Tingting collected Freya's mecha driving data according to Xia Xingchen's requirements. After receiving it, Xia Xingchen started working in his room. This work was quite profitable. He arranged for his crew members to continue shopping while he calmed down to design this mental telekinetic mecha. Regarding the mental telekinetic mecha, Xia Xingchen consulted a lot of information in the library of the college. The biggest difficulty in designing a mental telekinetic mecha is to grasp the attributes of the mecha. For example, Freya's Bloody Queen. This mecha is biased towards fire attributes. Now it is obviously very problematic to use it to realize the ice type mental power. Looking at the mecha in front of him, Xia Xingchen decided to do it well. Freya's Bloody Queen mecha was not repaired due to the material problem. Xia Xingchen decided to design this mecha for Freya to make up for the regret of that year. Chapter 160 The Threat from the Brotherhood of Pirates. Xia Xingchen calmed down and started his mecha design work. He treated it as if he was designing a mecha for Freya and was very attentive. 3 days passed quickly and a brand new mecha appeared in front of him. Xia Xingchen contacted Chen Tingting, and Chen Tingting sent someone to pick up Xia Xingchen and drove him to the high-end berth area. Xia Xingchen inserted the data storage device in his hand into the holographic display, and the holographic laser device started, and a holographic 3-dimensional image of a silver and blue mecha came into people's eyes. Other mecha maintenance technicians in the warehouse came over to watch. When they saw the design drawings, they were all amazed. Master Xia Xingchen, please name this mecha. Chen Tingting said. This has been a practice in the Galactic Empire for many years. Designers have the right to name their own works. Every mecha is the pride of the designer and a work of art. Xia Xingchen thought for a while and said, "Excuse me, Miss Chen Crossinger, if I'm not mistaken, the mecha master of this mecha should be a woman, right?" Chen Tingting nodded. "Then let's name this mecha the Ice and Snow Goddess mecha." Xia Xingchen thought for a while and said, "What a good name, Ice and Snow Goddess. Sister Natalia will definitely like it. Then I'll take my leave first. You can go and customize the mecha's accessories. I'll be back in a month and we can start assembling the mecha. I'm not very clear about your industrial base and technical strength, so most of the accessories in the mecha drawings have 2 options, high configuration and low configuration. You can freely match them according to your actual situation." Xia Xingchen was very thoughtful. Chen Tingting nodded gratefully. Then, she handed Xia Xingchen a data storage device. "Master Xia Xingchen, I still strongly advise you not to go to the Death Star region. It is too dangerous there. I still hope you can change your mind. But if you insist on going there, please bring this communication identifier. It can identify our Freedom Temple's spaceships. If you connect it to the communication system, our Freedom Temple's spaceships will not attack you. If you need help, you can also ask for help from the Freedom Temple. In addition, 2.5 billion star coins have been deposited into your account. In fact, Chen Tingting could pay half of the money first and pay the rest to Xia Xingchen after he comes back and assembles the mecha. After all, Xia Xingchen is going to the Death Star region for adventure. If he has an accident, Chen Tingting and the others can save more than 10 billion star coins. But Chen Tingting insisted on paying the full amount first to express her sincerity. Xia Xingchen packed up his things, returned to his residence, and began to study the itinerary for the next day. He found out that every 5 days, more than a dozen explorer spaceships will set off to the Death Star region in groups, and then disperse at the end of the safe channel. The advantage of this is that at least they will not be attacked by star pirates before entering the dangerous area of the Death Star region. Xia Xingchen planned to set off with such a team. Suddenly, the front desk of the hotel sent a message saying that someone wanted to see him. Xia Xingchen invited the visitor into the reception room. This was an old man with exquisite clothes and a hint of aristocracy, but he had a condescending expression on his face, which Xia Xingchen didn't like very much. "Hello Mr. Xia Xingchen, I'm Luke. We learned that you are a skilled senior mecha maintenance technician. My 2 masters, Alfonso and Alonso, want to ask you to help us design and transform several mechas." Although Luke spoke very politely, there was a hint of disdain in his expression. Xia Xingchen frowned. His identity as a senior mecha maintenance technician was very confidential. It can be said that no one else except the Free Temple should know his information, and the Death Star Hotel is unlikely to disclose the privacy of the task issuer and the task acceptor at will. Then Luke's identity only has one, a star pirate. They have been monitoring Xia Xingchen or the Free Temple's every move and inferred his identity. I'm really sorry, old man. We already have a schedule and we are leaving soon. We really don't have time to help you. I can only say sorry. Xia Xingchen refused. Young man, don't you want to hear the price? Don't worry, no matter how much the Free Temple offers, we are willing to pay twice as much as they do. Luke sneered in his heart. He had made up his mind that no matter what price Xia Xingchen asked for, he would agree to it first. After Xia Xingchen finished the work, he would kill or detain Xia Xingchen and get the money back. Because the Death Star Hotel only has a local area network but no Skynet, funds can only be stored in financial data cards and cannot be transferred. Luke is confident that Xia Xingchen will not be able to return to Watch Star alive. Old man, I said, this is not a matter of money, but we don't have time. You should ask for help from someone else. Xia Xingchen was a little helpless. He was very reluctant to make a deal with the Star Pirates. The reason he helped Chen Tingting was because he sympathized with the Miners' Liberation Organization. But the attitude of the old man in front of him was obviously not what he liked. The old man named Luke was very angry. He is the chief steward of the Brotherhood of Star Pirates, responsible for all matters of the Brotherhood of Star Pirates except combat. His status in the Brotherhood of Star Pirates is second only to the two young masters, and in the entire Death Star Hotel, only the Freedom Temple, a Quinovian Chief Judge Merc dared to disrespect him. Now the attitude of this small senior mecha maintenance technician in front of him made him feel very unhappy. Young man, don't refuse a toast. You should know that many people die every year in the Death Star region. No matter who you are, the fist is the biggest here. It seems that here, there is no one who dares not to respect our Brotherhood of Star Pirates. If you offend us, neither the Mecha Maintenance Association nor the army can save you. Luke's face drooped instantly and threatened. So what? You are just a bunch of insignificant space pirates, hiding in the corner of the Death Star region like turtles. Sooner or later, you will be exposed in space. I advise you not to be too arrogant, because there are many people you can't afford to offend. The God of Death will not refuse to accept you, just because you are old. You'd better take care of yourself. Xia Xingchen's face was as gloomy as water, and his words almost choked Luke to death. You are too hateful and arrogant. Luke was so angry that he trembled all over, but his old bones were really no match for Xia Xingchen, and the rules of the Death Star Hotel were there, so he couldn't let the bodyguards attack Xia Xingchen here. Okay, you should leave. Goodbye. Xia Xingchen looked at him coldly. Oh, I'm so angry. Do you want me to call an ambulance for you? Xia Xingchen asked teasingly. Luke slammed the door and left in anger. Don't even think about leaving the Death Star region alive. Wait to die, kid. Chapter 161 Entering the Death Star region. In the evening, the crew returned to their residence. They had been shopping a lot in the past few days, especially the two ladies. Their consumption exceeded hundreds of millions of star coins. Fortunately, the big boss Xia Xingchen gave each of them a bonus of several 100 million star coins, and they completely satisfied their shopping addiction. Perlo and Hao Cheng ran back and forth many times before transporting the results of these people's purchases back to Black Hole number 1. Xia Xingchen called them all to the living room. The meeting began. There are two news to announce, one good news and one bad news. I want to ask for your opinions. Xia Xingchen said. The good news is that I have taken on a mecha design job these days, and it has been completed for the most part. The employer is very generous and gave a reward of 2.5 billion star coins. I plan to give each of you another bonus of 200 million star coins. Xia Xingchen said. Great, I really love you, Xingchen. Miss Vivian jumped up happily. Xingchen, you are simply a rich man. Perlo exclaimed. I didn't do anything. I just accompanied two ladies shopping every day. It's not appropriate to take so much money. Hao Cheng was embarrassed. It's not appropriate or inappropriate. We are partners. I can't treat you unfairly. Zhang Yingying was calmer. She asked Xia Xingchen, "What is the bad news you mentioned?" "We have been targeted by the Brother Star Pirates. This afternoon, one of their small leaders came to ask me to design a modified mecha for their leader, but I refused. I don't want to be in the same boat with the Star Pirates. So the man threatened me. If we continue to sail in the Death Star region, we are likely to face the siege of the Brother Star Pirates. I don't want to put everyone in danger, so I want to ask for everyone's opinions. Should we continue to act according to the original plan, or wait here for a month and return directly after the mecha is delivered and put into use?" Xia Xingchen told them the situation they were facing. "Captain, I'm afraid that, even if you agree to the pirates' request, we may not be able to get away unscathed. Besides, we have been targeted now. It is estimated that the Brotherhood of Pirates has already deployed a large number of troops on our route back to Watchstar. Why don't we do the opposite and go directly into the Death Star field to hurt the pirates and muddy the waters? This will be more conducive to our escape." Zhang Yingying gave her advice. "We can't just leave in disgrace like this. I've been out here for almost 2 months and I only had such a fight. Don't forget, we are out here for experience. I suggest that we stick to the original plan. It's just right that they came to find us. We don't have to worry about not finding pirates anymore." Hao Cheng's eyes were filled with a fierce fighting fire. "I don't care. Polo is very free and easy. Wherever the master goes, I will go." Yugo also expressed his opinion. No, if we leave now, how much bonus will we lose?" In Miss Vivian's opinion, star coins seem to be more important than life. It is rare to meet a generous boss like Xia Xingchen. If she works harder, she will have no worries about food and clothing in this life. Then she added, "And Captain, you didn't realize that the previous owner of our black hole number 1 was simply a weirdo. Our spacecraft has many other functions that he himself doesn't even know, and he didn't tell you. I can guarantee that with the performance of our spacecraft and my invincible driving skills, the pirates will have no chance of catching us." Miss Vivian is very confident. "Since everyone agrees, we will set off early tomorrow morning." On the land public platform of the Death Star Hotel, 24 spaceships have been contacted and converged in the space outside the hotel. They will enter the Death Star region together. There is a relatively safe journey ahead. These spaceships will sail together, which can effectively avoid harassment from star pirates. All the spaceships have arrived. They are lined up in neat formations, thrusters spraying flames, and the spaceships slowly sail into space. A day later, the spaceship entered the Death Star region. It will take another half a day to reach the final safe zone, and then each ship will leave the team and head for the target area. Vivian said, "Report on the status of the spaceship. At present, all systems of the spaceship are normal. The engine power is 40%, and the current detection distance is only 3,000 kilometers. The maximum effective distance of the laser is only 50 kilometers under the current concentration of mysterious particles." Zhang Yingying stared at the screen and reported the situation of the spaceship. "Why is the speed so slow?" Xia Xingchen was a little puzzled. "Captain, our black hole number 1 is more than twice as fast as ordinary spaceships. How can people survive if you go faster?" The engine power of other warships in the team is now above 85%. Vivian explained. "Xingchen, I suggest that we leave the team now. The closer we get to the end of the safe zone, the more dangerous it is. If I were a star pirate, I would definitely stay near the safe zone to look for prey." Zhang Yingying said. "Okay, then let's leave the team now, take our own route, and start the action." "Understood." Zhang Yingying and Vivian both agreed and began to operate. Zhang Yingying quickly typed a request to leave the team and the route on the public communication channel, notifying other ships to avoid it in time. After a while, the feedback came back. "The route has been cleared," Zhang Yingying reported. "Vivian, it's up to you now." "Understood, Captain." Miss Vivian agreed, released the autopilot system, and held the joystick tightly. Azimuth 26, 35, 42, engine power 70%. Black hole number 1 has left the fleet, distance 1000 to the fleet. No abnormalities found, distance 1200. Another 3 ships have applied to leave the team. Distance 1500. 3 spaceships have left the team and are heading towards us. Zhang Yingying shouted anxiously. 3 warships are accelerating towards us. Thermal pattern comparison shows that they are a Ghent-class high-speed medium-sized cruiser and 2 Manhattan-class small high-speed spaceships. They are not friendly. Get rid of them at high speed. Xia Xingchen ordered. Engine power 85%. Weapon system starts charging. Distance 1500. The other party sent a communication asking us to stop the ship, otherwise they will kill us. It seems that they are pirates, and only the Brotherhood of Pirates is so arrogant. Vivian, leave it to you. Xia Xingchen ordered. Don't worry, everyone depends on me. I saw that the power of the Black Hole number 1 engine instantly increased to 95%, slightly widening the distance from the 3 ships behind. Although the Ghent-class medium cruiser is a high-speed warship, it is also a product of nearly 100 years ago and has limited speed. The 2 small ships did not seem to dare to get too close to the medium-sized ship. The main thruster is turned off, the ship enters inertial flight, and the Mirage system is activated. Chapter 162, Firefight. On the Ghent-class cruiser that was following closely behind Black Hole number 1, a small leader of the Brother Star Pirates was shouting. Speed up, increase the engine power to 98%. We must not let them escape, otherwise Lord Luke will kill us. What are those 2 Manhattan-class ships doing? Speed up and rush over. Report to the captain. The other party disappeared at a distance of 1600. The pilot of the spaceship under his command reported. What? You didn't see it wrong. The detection distance of our spaceship is 2000, and it was 1500 just now. How come it disappeared in an instant? Report to the commander. Either they accelerated instantly, or the concentration of mysterious particles here is too high, interfering with our detection equipment. Keep speeding up, look in front of you, and charge the weapon system. You 2 Manhattan-class ships. Chase them at full speed. If you lose people, you will face the wrath of Lord Luke. At this time, Black Hole number 1, which had activated the Mirage system, had quietly left the channel and was quietly parked in space. Radar system off. Optical imaging system on. Distance 1000. Optical imaging system confirmed. Target, Ghent class. Quantity 1. Manhattan class. Quantity 2. Distance 500. Distance 150. The opponent has not slowed down. Electromagnetic railgun charging. Distance 20. The opponent rushed past the front of our ship. Main gun salvo. Secondary gun alternate firing. Target Ghent class. Engine start after firing. 50% speed. Xia Xingchen issued an attack order. Black Hole number 1 turned on the Mirage system and ambushed on the spot. The Ghent-class medium cruiser and 2 Manhattan-class high-speed spacecraft that were closely tracking behind were not aware of it and rushed in front of Black Hole number 1. Xia Xingchen certainly would not miss this opportunity. Black Hole number 1 opened fire. An alloy armor-piercing shell of the electromagnetic railgun and 2 heavy lasers hit the thruster of the Ghent-class cruiser. The thruster of a space battleship is the most vulnerable part because there is no armor here. Then 4 more medium-sized laser cannons hit the tail of the Ghent class. The huge explosion caused the space pirates and the Ghent class to be in a mess. Because the thrusters were destroyed, the Ghent class immediately lost power and floated in space. The entire ship was hit sideways by the shock wave of the explosion. Main gun, fire again. This time it was Zhang Yingying who gave the order. At this time, Perlo, who was operating the fire control manager position of Black Hole number 1, was even more handy with his superb sniper skills on the warship. The first round of salvos just now made the space pirate leader on the Ghent class flustered. At this time, the Ghent class had turned sideways. Only then did he see that the Black Hole number 1 they had lost was about 15 kilometers away from the side. Then, several thick lasers penetrated the bridge. This was the last image he saw. The explosion of the bridge caused the warship to explode. After a violent explosion, there was not a single living person on the entire cruiser. I saw the logo on their ship. They belong to the Brother Star Pirates. We've made a fortune, Captain. Vivian shouted. Don't be arrogant. There are still 2 small ships. We can't leave them alive, otherwise it will be troublesome. Distance 30, engine power 90%, main guns continue to charge. Distance 20, target Manhattan class, laser main guns 1 and 2 fire, secondary guns fire. The dense artillery fire hit the hull of Manhattan-class ship. The Manhattan-class is just a small high-speed ship, very fragile, and was blown up on the spot. Target, Manhattan-class, distance 23, main gun laser, fire. 2 more lasers flashed by. The last remaining pirate ship was also blown up. Confirm the target situation and quickly leave the battlefield. Xia Xingchen gave the order. A medium-sized cruiser and 2 small ships have been confirmed to belong to the Brother Star pirates. There is no sign of life, and 1.2 billion star coins are in hand. Vivian was very excited. We can't take it lightly. The pirates won't give up so easily. Zhang Yingying was a little worried. I don't think it's that serious. Information communication is very inconvenient in the Death Star region. The pirates are fighting on their own. This is our opportunity. We just need to be careful and defeat them one by one. Xia Xingchen said. That's right. The pirates are not to be feared. The sudden catastrophic astronomical phenomena in the Death Star region are the most troublesome thing. Vivian added. 3 days later, in an abandoned resource satellite in the Death Star region, Luke, Alfonso, and Alonso were meeting at the headquarters of the Brotherhood Pirates. Dad Luke, how is the mission to find the senior mecha division going? Asked the chief Alfonso. The brothers Alfonso and Alonso came from a noble family in the Galactic Empire. Later, a member of the family offended the royal family, and the entire family was wanted. The patriarch at that time led the family members to escape into the Death Star region and became pirates. And Luke's family has been butlers in Alfonso's family for generations. The father of the Alfonso brothers died in a fight between star pirates a long time ago. It was Luke who raised the 2 of them. The 2 of them regarded Luke as their father and respectfully called him dad. Reporting to the eldest master, the progress is not very smooth. We offered a salary of 5 billion star coins per year on other planets, but no one was willing to come to the Death Star region. Among the travelers to the Death Star region, only 2 senior mecha repairmen came in 3 years. One of the 2 people Luke mentioned was serving in the military, and he never got off the warship, so Luke had no chance to contact him. The other one was Xia Xingchen, but what made Luke very unhappy was that Xia Xingchen actually modified and designed mechas for the Freedom Temple, the biggest rival of the Brother Star pirates, and rudely rejected him. Didn't you tell him the consequences of rejecting us? Alonso, who was irritable, said to the table. Second master, this is the problem. They are not afraid of our death threats at all. Instead, they followed the explorers of the group to the depths of the Death Star region the next day. However, they left the team halfway. I arranged a Ghent-class cruiser and 2 Manhattan-class high-speed spacecraft to intercept them, but there is still no news. I suspect that our people have met with an accident. Alfonso nodded. It seems that the other party is not an ordinary person. This is understandable. Not everyone can afford to hire a senior mecha repairman. Alfonso said, this matter cannot be let go. We will be looked down upon. So, informal ships of their news. Once encountered, they will be killed without mercy and given double the reward. Yes, master. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 163, Destroying the BUU Pirates. Vivian, what's the situation now? Xia Xingchen came to the cockpit and asked. The engine power is 50%. The detector power is fully turned on. The concentration of mysterious particles is normal, and the maximum detection distance is 3000. There are many asteroids here, so there will be no stars with strong gravity, and those routes that look clean and safe are often full of murderous intentions. In addition, I asked Yingying to closely monitor the density changes of asteroids and mysterious particles. There is a high possibility that something is hidden there, such as a black hole or a temporary wormhole. Vivian came here with her father when she was a teenager. The rich space navigation experience inherited from her father made all the members look at this driver and navigator with new eyes. Beep. Beep. The detector of black hole number 1 suddenly started to alarm. Report to the captain. A fixed detector was found at a distance of 2300. The estimated detection distance of the other party is 1500, and they have not found us yet. Turn on the Mirage system, shut down the main thruster, and start the low energy particle jet engine. The spacecraft leaves the main channel. Xia Xingchen has learned some courses on warship command this semester, and has made up for it in the library. In addition, he has humbly asked Zhang Yingying for advice along the way. His current warship command level has reached a certain level. Captain, another detector was found. The distance is 2850. Issue a second level combat alert. All personnel in place. Understood. In less than a minute, everyone except Hugo came to the cockpit, and Hugo stayed in the living room alone. Xia Xingchen introduced the process of discovering the fixed detector to Vivian, and handed over the command to Zhang Yingying. Zhang Yingying called up the locations of the two fixed detectors that had been found. They were placed on two pieces of asteroid fragments. After a calculation, Zhang Yingying gave the order, Vivian, keep the Mirage system turned on, and move to the directions of 62, 17, and 58. These two are old-fashioned fixed early warning detectors. I suspect there is a pirate base nearby. Let's sneak in, and see the situation. If we can win, we will fight. If not, we will retreat. Zhang Yingying made a quick decision. An hour later, Black Hole number 1 slowly approached the enemy base under the action of low-energy particle jet thrusters. The optical imaging system is activated. An abandoned space outpost is found at position 74, 12, 32, and the distance is 899. There are also 8 small spaceships parked near the outpost. Looking at the logo on the ship, it is the BUU pirates. Each ship's gun begins to charge, said Zhang Yingying. Xia Xingchen retrieved the mission information from the Mercenary Management Agency, which showed that the BUU pirates were an emerging pirate group that had only emerged in recent years. They were originally a small interstellar adventurer group, with more than a dozen E-class mecha divisions among them, which was a very powerful force. Later, during an escort mission, they saw the money, and killed the owner of the goods. They were wanted by the Mercenary Management Agency, so they fled to the Death Star region and became pirates. This stronghold was taken after they eliminated a small local pirate force. Distance 500, mecha pilots on standby. Xia Xingchen and others, including Hugo, came to the mecha and prepared to go. Distance 100, target grouping. Enemy ships are grouped as numbers 1 to 8, and data transmission is complete. In large-scale air battles, before the two sides engage in large-scale enemy combat, in order to facilitate command, the enemy fleet will generally be grouped into targets. The smaller the target number, the more important its position in the enemy fleet. When the distance is 50, the main gun and secondary gun will fire alternately in salvos, firing in the order of grouping. After the main gun is fired, the mecha will attack. Xingchen is responsible for the remaining spacecraft. Polo is responsible for cleaning up the mecha. Hugo and Hao Cheng attack freely, but do not block the firing line of this ship. Zhang Yingying quickly arranged the attack plan. Distance 50, engine start, power 20%, main gun, target battleship number 1, salvo. Zhang Yingying gave the order to attack, and the two main guns of Black Hole number 1 sprayed out angry lasers. In just 10 seconds, 2 rounds of salvos from the main gun and secondary guns of Black Hole number 1 destroyed 4 small spaceships. At this time, 4 mechas flew out of the mecha cabin of Black Hole number 1, looking for the best attack position. Targets number 5 and number 6 were also destroyed, and targets number 7 and number 8 were blocked by the outpost. The stars cover me. The main gun and secondary gun take turns to attack the outpost's defense weapons at a distance of 45. At this time, the headquarters of the BUU pirates was in chaos. The shrill alarm sounded. Enemy attack. Someone shouted loudly. Most of the pirates were still sleeping soundly. Among the 8 spaceships parked outside, only 2 were on combat duty. However, these 2 spaceships were destroyed in the first place. After all, they were not a regular army. When faced with an emergency, they did not think about rushing to their combat posts, but about escaping. The pirate leader took a gun and personally shot and killed several panicked pirates to stop the chaos. Only then did the pirates remember that the outpost still had defensive weapons, more than a dozen defensive turrets. But when they just ran to the gun position, the laser of black hole number 1 had arrived, and the pirates flew into the sky with the turret. Hurry up and get on the battleship, and the mecha will be dispatched. The pirate leader shouted loudly. At a distance of 35, targets number 7 and number 8 have heat source reactions. The spaceship is about to start. The main gun is aimed at number 7, and number 8 is left for the stars. Ying Ying shouted. At this time, Xia Xingchen landed on a piece of space debris the size of a mecha, set up the flowing fire mecha rifle, adjusted it to the plasma cannon mode, and selected 30% power output. There was no need to use all his strength to deal with a small spaceship. A dozen seconds later, the outline of a spaceship sailed out of the shadow of the outpost. Xia Xingchen locked it immediately. A beam of orange-yellow plasma directly cut the small spaceship in half. At the same time, his muzzle slashed downward, and the remaining plasma crossed the surface of the outpost, triggering a series of huge explosions. At the same time, another small spaceship was also hit by 2 lasers, and exploded in space. All enemy small spaceships are destroyed. Enemy mechas are dispatched. The number is 22, and the distance is 25. Oh, the number is 21. 20. The main gun and secondary gun are cooling down, and the close defense gun is activated. It turned out that at this time, Xia Xingchen and Perlo each occupied a piece of meteorite, and started a shooting game. Purple and orange lasers harvested the lives of the space pirates. You two shameless guys, leave a few for me! Exclamation mark. Hao Cheng almost burst into tears as he saw fewer and fewer targets. Yugo's Terami warriors followed closely behind him, firing non-stop with their 3-shot mecha laser rifles. There were 5-star pirate mechas in front of them. The Monkey King mecha rushed forward waving its alloy staff. The star pirates' lasers were deflected by the alloy staffs, and even if they hit the Monkey King mecha, they were unharmed. Seeing this, the star pirates put down their ranged weapons, took out alloy swords, thermal axes and other melee weapons, and surrounded them. Hao Cheng was delighted to see the prey, and he turned on the power of the somersault cloud system under his feet, dancing with the alloy iron staff in a dazzling manner. Suddenly, the thrusters behind his Monkey King mecha were fully turned on, and the mecha suddenly jumped out of the somersault cloud system, just before the weapons of the 5 opponent mechas fell, and it dodged these attacks just in time, and then swung the long staff up, drawing a yellow light circle in space. After being hit by the yellow light circle, the 5-star pirate mechas exploded one after another, as if they were cut by a light blade. Haha, it's fun. The Monkey King mecha made a beautiful flower. Hao Cheng himself praised Xia Xingchen's modified Monkey King mecha, and was very satisfied with the somersault cloud flight assistance system. However, when he adjusted the mecha's posture back, he turned around, and saw that his nose was crooked. It turned out that the remaining dozen mechas were killed by the 2 snipers. Even Yugo, who was fighting a space mecha battle for the first time, destroyed 2 mechas. How can you be so shameless? Hao Cheng wanted to cry, but had no tears. Chapter 164, Looting. Hao Cheng was complaining that Xia Xingchen and his men were too greedy for merit, and didn't leave him a few more pirates. Stop complaining. It's time to go in, and plunder the spoils. Hao Cheng and Yugo are in one group, and Xingchen is in another. Perlo, please cover the mothership. Pay attention to safety. All personnel must return in 20 minutes. This is an order. Zhang Yingying gave the order, and the Black Hole number 1 spacecraft was hovering 20 kilometers away from the outpost, but the engine was still on. The ship's gun was still aimed at the outpost. Hao Cheng and Yugo entered from the mecha launch channel above the outpost. There were several mechas that had just started up, but they were destroyed by the iron rod and Yugo's laser shooting. The 2 cooperated perfectly. They killed all the way to the hangar, and began to destroy it. Xia Xingchen entered from the cargo channel at the bottom of the outpost. The bottom of most space stations and resource satellites are large cargo channels, which are convenient for docking large cargo ships, to load and unload goods. This place can also be used as a secret launch channel for mechas in wartime. As soon as Xia Xingchen entered the cargo channel, the 3 floating guns on the mecha were activated. Using the Dragoon system to explore the way in such a complex space is also a good choice. There are constantly pirate mechas flying out of the cargo channel, but they are often blown up in the cockpit as soon as they show their heads. In such a small space, the Dragoon system combined with the inside skill is simply cheating. He flew all the way up and came to the pirate warehouse. There are many things here, which are very complicated, and most of them are robbed by the pirates. Xia Xingchen's inside skill quickly scanned the warehouse, looking for some useful things. Suddenly, a sealed alloy door caught his attention. There are good things behind the door. Xia Xingchen was very happy. The Dragon Rider Warlord Mecha came to the front of the door, put the flowing fire Mecha rifle aside, took out the light energy sword, and slowly began to cut the alloy door. A few minutes later, the door collapsed, and 2 small containers appeared in front of him. Xia Xingchen used the inside skill to patrol the surroundings, and found that there were no other people and working cameras. He quickly wrapped the 2 small containers with mental power, and sent them into his personal mecha space. After storing the containers, Xia Xingchen let out a long sigh and continued searching. After a while, 8 cylindrical objects with a length of 2.5 meters and a diameter of 1.5 meters appeared at the end of the warehouse. Xia Xingchen smiled again when he saw it. This was also a good thing, a universal nuclear fusion fuel rod for spacecraft engines, 2 of which were full of fuel. Xia Xingchen put on his spacesuit, jumped out of the mecha, floated in front of the nuclear fusion fuel rods, and carefully removed the explosion-proof devices on 6 of the fuel rods that were not full of fuel. Then he took out a timed explosion device with a diameter of half a meter from his personal mecha space, placed it on one of the nuclear fusion fuel rods, and set the explosion time. After doing all this, Xia Xingchen returned to the Dragon Rider mecha, holding a nuclear fusion fuel rod filled with fuel in each hand, and flew back to black hole number 1. As soon as he flew out of the outpost, the communication was restored. Xingchen, what took you so long? We were all worried to death. Xia Xingchen glanced at the time and smiled bitterly. It has been more than 30 minutes since they entered the outpost. He was so busy collecting spoils that he forgot the time. I'm really sorry. I was delayed by something and made everyone worried. Xia Xingchen was embarrassed. It won't happen again. Dragon Riders, return home. Xia Xingchen first landed in the cargo hold of black hole number 1 and placed 2 fuel rods. Then he returned to the mecha cabin. He jumped off the mecha, quickly came to the cockpit, and said, Vivian, heading 45, 51, 13, leave at 30% engine power, stop at a distance of 500, keep the optical imaging system on, aim at the target outpost, and start recording. Yes, Captain. 10 minutes later, the headquarters of the BUU pirates turned into cosmic dust in a burst of nuclear smoke. The 6 detonated fuel rods were comparable to 6 hydrogen bombs. After witnessing this moment, black hole number 1 flew off into the distance. 10 hours later, black hole number 1 landed on a flat rock slightly larger than its hull. The engine was shut down, and the Mirage system was turned on. After the battle, Xia Xingchen and others carried out routine inspections and maintenance on the mecha and spacecraft. In the Death Star domain, the spacecraft must always be kept in the best condition to better respond to possible dangers. Hao Cheng showed off his cooking skills and prepared a sumptuous dinner for everyone. After dinner, several people gathered in the living room and began to take stock of the day's battle. Zhang Yingying seriously criticized Xia Xingchen for his overtime behavior, because punctuality is the most basic requirement in battle, and his practice of not acting according to the established time will kill his teammates. Xia Xingchen made a serious review and sincere apology. What is the benefit of our battle this time, Captain? Miss Vivian's eyes lit up again. We can't connect to Skynet here, so we can't feed back to the mission system for the time being. But so far we have destroyed 8 small spaceships and seized a pirate headquarters. It is estimated that our gains from this battle are no less than 3 billion star coins. Zhang Yingying did some calculations. Wow, we're rich. It's true that a cannon shot can bring in 1 million star coins. Miss Vivian's pupils instantly turned into star coin symbols. Well, the gains are more than that. We also looted some spoils from the pirates, which are also very valuable. Xia Xingchen said. That's right, you go and I also have spoils. Hao Cheng said, and you go nodded again and again. The group came to the cargo hold of black hole number 1, and everyone wanted to see what the spoils were. Chapter 165 Return to the Death Star Hotel. The cargo hold of the black hole number 1 spacecraft was slowly opened. The first thing that came into view was 2 cylindrical objects, which were firmly fixed in the cargo hold. The moment they saw this object, everyone except Hugo was delighted. "This is the nuclear fusion fuel rod of the spacecraft," Vivian shouted. "Yes, Vivian, these 2 nuclear fusion fuel rods are still full of fuel," Xia Xingchen said. "Oh my god, a full spacecraft nuclear fusion fuel rod is worth more than 2 billion star coins, and these 2 are more than 4 billion. Captain, you can give us more bonuses with the saved fuel money," Vivian shouted excitedly again. "A spacecraft nuclear fusion fuel rod filled with fuel is worth more than 2 billion star coins, and one such fuel rod can power a small spacecraft to fly continuously for a year. Generally speaking, most mercenary groups and adventure groups will include the cost of spacecraft fuel. The 2 guys Xia Xingchen brought back are worth more than 4 billion star coins. Everyone can share a little. Well, I saw you go and Hao Cheng dragging a container each. Go open it and have a look." Miss Vivian suddenly remembered something. Hao Cheng ran to the container he brought back happily and operated the mechanical arm on the spacecraft. The box was opened. Inside were 5 mecha laser rifles placed side by side, and 1 mecha laser rifle that was disassembled and placed horizontally. "Haha, I won't be afraid of them snatching my prey anymore. My shooting level is not bad at all." Hao Cheng grinned and laughed. At this time, Hugo also ran over and imitated Hao Cheng to open the box he brought back with the mechanical arm. Inside were 30 alloy daggers for Mechas. Xia Xingchen was furious. The fanatical preference and obsession of these Terami people for cold weapons were incomprehensible to Earthlings. At this time, the temperature in the warehouse seemed to drop by more than 10 degrees. Hao Cheng, who was feeling proud, suddenly turned around and saw Miss Vivian's murderous eyes. This young lady's enthusiasm for star coins is comparable to the Terami people's obsession with weapons. Then, on black hole number 1, Miss Vivian held a wrench and chased Hao Cheng and Hugo all over the spaceship. However, Xia Xingchen still had a trophy, which was stored in his personal mecha space, but this thing was too sensitive, and Xia Xingchen did not want to expose his portable mecha space, so he decided to keep it secret from his comrades for the time being. The 2 small containers contained 2 Lungsan V macro-controlled nuclear fusion engines. Each of them cost about 10 billion star coins, and this thing is a strategic material, not something you can buy if you want to. The BUU Star mercenary group had a crooked mind after seeing this thing, and finally became the BUU Star Pirates. Xia Xingchen planned to use them to upgrade the mechas for Perlo and Hao Cheng. In the next 10 days, they eliminated 5 more Star Pirate teams, destroying a total of 2 medium-sized space cruisers, 19 small spaceships, and more than 90 mechas. But there were only 5 alloy armor-piercing shells left for the electromagnetic railgun on the spacecraft, so they had to return. The electromagnetic railgun played an indispensable role in their victory over the opponents who outnumbered them in the Death Star region. Because there are mysterious particles in the Death Star region that can seriously affect the propagation of light and radio waves, the effective killing range of lasers in such an environment is only 50 kilometers, while the electromagnetic railgun is much less affected, and its effective killing range can still reach 400 kilometers here. It's just that the electromagnetic railgun is too expensive, and the shells are easy to dodge at a long distance, so it has basically been eliminated. Who knew that the previous owner of Black Hole number 1 had money to spend, so he installed such a weapon system on it, which helped Xia Xingchen and others a lot. A few days later, Black Hole number 1 docked in the advanced berth area. A few hours later, Xia Xingchen came to visit. She was very happy that Xia Xingchen returned safely. The accessories of the Ice Queen mecha have been made, and the only thing left is the assembly work. The 2 agreed to start assembling the mecha early tomorrow morning. The next morning, Xia Xingchen came to pick up Xia Xingchen, and they came to the berth of the Statue of Liberty again. At this time, the warehouse was full of accessories. Xia Xingchen pretended to check it, but in fact he was hiding the fact that he was using the inside skill. He frowned. Almost all the accessories were of the lowest configuration. Some of the accessories did not meet the requirements at all. Xia Xingchen looked at Xia Xingchen's expression and guessed his thoughts. She blushed. "Xingchen, this is the situation here. The entire hotel has only one material factory system. Due to the lack of information and limited technology, this is already a limit. Forget it. If there is a chance to go outside in the future, try to reproduce the accessories and replace them. After Xia Xingchen finished speaking, he took the universal mechanical maintenance arm and started the assembly of the mecha. 2 days later, the mecha was finally assembled. Xia Xingchen suggested that Xia Xingchen let the mecha master come to test the machine and set the mecha operating parameters in person, but unfortunately Natalia's headache came back, and she could only stay on the battleship, so Xia Xingchen authorized Xia Xingchen to be fully responsible for the commissioning of the mecha. Xia Xingchen sat in the cockpit of the mecha. He naturally set the mecha operating parameters according to Freya's driving habits. After the system restarted, the blue indicator light on the head of the mecha lit up, and the assembly of the Ice and Snow Goddess mecha was completely completed. Ice and Snow Goddess mecha, height 5.1 meters. Parameters, strength 18, agility 28, defense 25, speed 31, humanoid mental telekinesis mecha. The weapon system has 6 medium-sized mecha rapid-fire cannons, 2 mental telekinesis electric swords. The knees, elbows, and feet of the mecha are all retractable electric blades, and there are 2 pairs of foldable flying wings arranged in an X shape on the back. The 6 medium-sized white lights provide very good power for the thrusters. The support accessories and skeleton of the mecha have been strengthened and are manufactured according to the standards of combat mechas. Even without other weapons, this is also an excellent combat mecha. Originally, Xia Xingchen designed 4 mecha weapons for the Ice and Snow Goddess mecha, but due to the limitations of materials and craftsmanship, only 2 are installed now. One is a telekinetic electric sword, which can release a 3-meter long light blade when activated. When the telekinesis is activated, the electric blade can extend to a length of 6 meters. Another telekinetic equipment is 2 telekinetic shields installed on the arms of the mecha. When the mecha is attacked, the shield generator will instantly release 2 ice shields. Of course, this ice shield will consume a lot of energy from the mecha. In addition, there are 2 powerful telekinetic equipment, which cannot be produced for the time being due to material and equipment reasons, but Xia Xingchen left behind the design drawings. Moreover, he also left behind a design drawing for the modification of the Ice Queen that may be equipped with a nuclear energy engine in the future. Chapter 166 The Challenge of the Brotherhood of Pirates. When Xia Xingchen returned to his residence, someone suddenly came to visit again. Xia Xingchen let the visitor into the living room again. This time there were 3 people, 2 men in their early 30s and Luke. 2 young masters. This is Xia Xingchen, the mecha repairman. Xia Xingchen, these 2 are my young masters, Lord Alfonso and Lord Alonso. Come over and greet them. Luke was still arrogant. Which country's rule is this? I, a dignified officer of the Galactic Empire, have to salute a star pirate. Xia Xingchen said righteously. Our young master's family is a noble family with a 1000-year history. Luke was so angry that his beard stood up. Aristocrats can also be star pirates. I really learned something new. Xia Xingchen said sarcastically. Say it again. How dare you insult my family? I want to duel with you. The hot-tempered second son Alonso stood up and drew the decorative sword at his waist. The eldest son Alfonso stood up and stretched out his hand to stop his younger brother. Second brother, I believe that those who are capable have some personality and temper, but I also believe that those who are truly capable know the times. Mr. Xia Xingchen, I sincerely invite you to help us. We are willing to pay a lot of price and hope you can help us. You should be very clear about the strength of our brother star pirate group. If we want to keep you, even if you find a large-scale fleet from the military, you may not be able to escape. What's more, the military is unlikely to send a large-scale fleet for you, a mecha maintenance technician. Mr. Alfonso, I'm an imperial soldier. I can't help you. This is a matter of principle. You should ask for help from someone else. Then why did you go to help the Temple of Freedom? You know, everyone's every move in this Death Star hotel cannot escape our sight. Alonso couldn't help it again, and jumped out and said, the Temple of Freedom is different from you. They didn't kill innocent people indiscriminately, but instead wiped out a large number of pirates. I admire them for this, and I'm very happy to help them. Xia Xingchen was tough. Alfonso stopped his emotional brother and said, well, let's not talk about the Temple of Freedom. I kindly sent 3 spaceships to protect you. Now they are missing. Should you be held responsible for this? Ha 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 ha. Xia Xingchen laughed out loud, as if he had heard the funniest thing in the world. First of all, I didn't ask anyone to protect me. Second, you know very well, whether they are protecting me, monitoring me, or even killing me. The most important point is that I didn't find your men. As for whether they were killed by the army or the Temple of Freedom, or whether they hit a black hole or a space crack, it's hard to say. You know, if you walk too much on the night road, you will encounter ghosts sooner or later. In short, the life and death of your men has nothing to do with me. Xia Xingchen stared at the 3 people, his eyes bursting with an indomitable momentum. Alfonso suppressed his anger and said, Mr. Xia Xingchen, no matter what, the hatred between us has been formed. Those who dared to talk to me like you in the past few decades have become space junk. So what do you want? Mr. Xia, I have a suggestion that can wipe out our grievances. I wonder if you are interested. A smile suddenly appeared on Alfonso's face. Oh, tell me about it. The old rule of the Death Star Hotel is that you cannot use force inside the hotel, but there is another rule that, if both parties have a sharp conflict that cannot be resolved and must fight to the death, they can ask the hotel's presiding judge for a duel. After approval, both parties can fight to the death. The presiding judge can serve as a referee and witness. How about this? Since you can come back safely from the periphery of the Death Star, I think you are also very powerful. We brothers challenge you to a life and death fight, and you can also send 2 mecha repairmen to participate in the battle. If you win, our previous grievances will be written off. You can leave the Death Star region freely with your friends, and our brother star pirates will never make things difficult for you. What do you think? Xia Xingchen thought for a while and said, your idea is good, but I can't give you an answer right now. I have to discuss it with my companions. Okay, I'll wait for your news. Alfonso said, and got up, and left with his brother Alonso. Before leaving, Luke left a personal terminal number. Xia Xingchen first contacted Xia Xingchen to verify the authenticity of the duel, and at the same time, asked about the situation of the brothers Alfonso and Alonso. On the other end of the communicator, Xia Xingchen frowned. Xingchen, the first thing I want to tell you is that the duel at the Death Star Hotel is real. Even as powerful as the Universe Hotel Group, they are not sure to ban all fights. You must know that the power of hatred is infinite, and you must find an outlet for this power to vent, so there is such a duel. The duel can choose close combat and mecha battle, both of which are in the form of life and death battles. Every time someone proposes a duel, the entire Death Star Hotel is like a festival. The duel will be broadcast, live throughout the hotel, and the outside world will also open a handicap for betting. The 2 brothers, Alfonso and Alonso, are 32 years old this year, and are twin brothers. They were SEAL level mecha masters 5 years ago. These 2 can be said to be the 2 strongest people besides the chief judge Merc. And these 2 seem to have telepathy. When they fight side by side, their combat power is far greater than that of 2 people. The reason why I want to build the Ice Queen mecha for an atelier is because these 2 brothers are very good at forcing others to duel with them. In the past few years, they have dueled more than a dozen times, and each time they won without any injury. They have gained the greatest benefit at the smallest cost. Xingchen, I beg you, don't agree to duel with them. Our Freedom Temple will do our best to help you leave here safely. Xia Xingchen pleaded. Xia, thank you for your advice, but I must accept this challenge. Xia Xingchen said. Why? Can you tell me why you have to go and die? Xia was very excited. Xia, our biggest purpose in coming to the Death Star region this time is to hone ourselves. Now we have such an opportunity, we must not waste it. I will accept this challenge no matter what. This is very important to me. Aren't you a mecha repairman? Yes, but I'm also a SEAL level mecha master, and so is my companion. We are both champions of the Xia and Star Military Academy mecha competition. And I feel that people like Alfonso will not keep their promises. Even if I beat him, he will not let us go. So, just take this opportunity to kill the 2 brothers, and their brother star pirate group will naturally collapse. You can use this opportunity to completely take over the Death Star region. Xia Xingchen was silent. She knew that, in order to achieve certain goals, she must pay a price. Then, be careful. Chapter 167 Before the Duel. After exchanging information with Xia Xingchen, Xia Xingchen called his partners together to discuss whether to participate in the duel. Xingchen, I think your opinion is right. To capture a thief, we must first capture the leader. They don't know your strength, so this is the best. We are at a disadvantage in terms of numbers in space. It's a good thing to have such a one-on-one opportunity. Without the leader, the Brother Star Pirates will be in chaos. Who will care about us? Zhang Yingying said. Yugo is willing to deal with those two people with the master. You stay aside. Of course, Xingchen and I must go together for such a thing. Hao Cheng was very excited, and he was a little eager to move. That's it. Brother Hao Cheng and I will participate in the mecha duel together. However, we must be prepared. Even if we win, the Star Pirates are likely to counterattack. We must be ready to leave at any time. Xia Xingchen decided to accept the challenge. Xia Xingchen sent a message to the personal terminal number left by Luke. Soon the other party replied to the message. Luke had submitted a duel application to the presiding judge and was approved. The duel will be held in the arena of the Death Star Sea Hotel 2 days later. Later that day, the news spread throughout the LAN of the Death Star Hotel. The crowd was immediately excited. No one had dared to challenge the Alonso brothers for 3 years. Now there was another chance to watch a fight between dragons and tigers. The casino of the Death Star Hotel also opened the handicap, and the whole hotel was in an excited atmosphere. The day before the game, the hotel sent 2 large transports to transport the contestants' Mechas. Xia Xingchen and Hao Cheng followed the hotel's vehicles to the competition venue. Everyone else stayed on Black Hole number 1 and prepared for battle. Zhang Yingying was worried that the Brother Star Pirates would take this opportunity to cause damage. Anyway, the broadcast on the LAN can be seen on the spacecraft. The metal sphere with a diameter of tens of kilometers under the Death Star Hotel is the venue for the competition. It was originally prepared for the training of local mecha divisions. The entire arena is made of energy-absorbing interiors, and even if the laser hits it, it will not cause any damage. But for safety reasons, there are no spectators in the entire arena. Instead, there are hundreds of high-speed cameras. The mecha duel was finally about to begin. Xia Xingchen and Hao Cheng stayed in the mecha, and the conveyor belt slowly sent the mecha to the center of the competition venue. Brother Hao Cheng, don't show mercy. This is a life and death battle. The other party is not a good person. Killing them is to eliminate harm for the people. Hao Cheng nodded. At this time, the door of the duel venue opened, and 2 identical silver mechas appeared on the opposite side. These are 2 modified Royal Knight mechas. Royal Knight Mecha, height 5.3 meters, humanoid melee combat mecha. Parameters, strength 28, agility 28, armor 26, speed 30. Weapon system, an alloy shield, a light knight rifle, a light sword on the waist, and 2 light swords on the feet. A large white light thruster behind the mecha. Ladies and gentlemen, hello. Welcome to watch the 8th mecha duel of the year live broadcast by Death Star TV. Today's duel is between Xia Xingchen and Hao Cheng mecha divisions against Alfonso and the Alonso brothers. We haven't seen these 2 players who have won 18 consecutive victories in the mecha duel competition for 2 or 3 years. Maybe some people have forgotten the horror of the 2 brothers dominating the duel field. The brown lava warrior mecha in the center of the competition field now belongs to our chief judge Merc, who personally serves as the referee of this game. According to sources, our chief judge is preparing to participate in the assessment of A-level mecha masters. Look, the 2 mechas on the left side of the mecha duel field are the Royal Knight mechas of the Alonso brothers. These 2 mechas have excellent performance and are extremely fast. On the right side of the field are their opponents today. Let me take a look at the information of the applicants. Hao Cheng's Monkey King mecha and Xia Xingchen's Dragon Rider Warlord mecha. For these 2 players, I only know that Xia Xingchen is a senior mecha repairer. That's all. Look, the Monkey King mecha. My god, this is simply a big monkey. So interesting. Oh my god, what is that big guy next to it? Dragon Rider? How come there are still people using such flashy things now? It's so funny. The commentator sneered at Xia Xingchen's mecha. This commentator is just full of shit. They don't know how powerful Xingchen and brother Haocheng are. Vivian was very unhappy to hear the commentator's very biased commentary. This is a good thing, Sister Vivian. The less the enemy knows about Xingchen and the others, the more advantageous it is for us. You see, even the opening of the outside market is not optimistic about Xingchen and the others. It's 10 to 1. Zhang Yingying said. Yes, Yingying. So I bought 200 million and bet on Xingchen to win. Vivian said cunningly. I bought 500 million. I have confidence in the captain. Zhang Yingying's words scared Vivian. Alas, you are the eldest daughter of a wealthy family. You are not afraid of losing everything. I still have to save some dowry for myself. Two girls were fighting together. At this time, Alfonso was talking to his brother on the Royal Knight match on the field. Brother, don't take it lightly. These two people give me a bad feeling. Yes, brother, I feel it too. For a battle-hardened mecha master, there will be a premonition of the coming of danger. At this time, the two people on the opposite side gave them such a feeling. The mecha with the stick is left to you, and I will deal with the dragoon. Alfonso said to his brother. That's just what I want, my dear brother. Alonso rushed towards Haocheng with a grin. And Alfonso stopped Xia Xingchen. Boy, I'll give you one last chance. Surrender to me, or die. Xia Xingchen said nothing, raised his mecha laser rifle and shot at Alfonso's mecha head. Xia Xingchen did not use the flowing fire mecha rifle in this game, because the arena prohibits the use of long-range mecha weapons above level A, which will cause great damage to the hotel's buildings. After just a few rounds, Alfonso simply charged a few times, and he found that his opponent was very difficult. The Dragon Rider Warlord mecha was not as bulky as it looked, and its speed was almost the same as his own mecha. He began to take it seriously. Chapter 168 Mecha Duel. The battle between Xia Xingchen and Alfonso seemed a bit boring to most people. Both of them were too conservative, and kept testing each other. Alonso and Haocheng, who were standing next to them, fought to the death. Alonso held the mecha knight gun horizontally, aimed the huge white light blade at Haocheng's Monkey King mecha, opened the thrusters, and began to charge. The mecha rushed forward at high speed under the action of the thrusters, and the light blade of the knight gun drew a white line, and stabbed the Monkey King mecha. It was like a heavy night before humans entered the space age, rushing towards the opponent with an indomitable momentum. The Monkey King mecha stood still, and it gave people the feeling of an immovable mountain. Seeing that Alonso's knight gun was about to stab it, the Monkey King mecha suddenly swung the alloy long stick, and the blood in Haocheng's body instantly accelerated. The alloy long stick brought a golden light and smashed Alonso from top to bottom. Alonso was shocked. He was known for his bravery and fearlessness in battle, but he found that the opponent was even more desperate. Even if his gun could penetrate the opponent's mecha body, the opponent's stick would definitely smash him to pieces. This madman was completely fighting with the style of dying together. Thinking of this, he did not dare to neglect it. He could only raise the blade of the knight's gun. The knight's gun and the alloy long stick collided violently, and a very strong shock wave erupted with the collision point of the two mechas as the center. Haocheng's mecha was shocked and retreated 3 or 4 steps, while Alonso's Royal Knight mecha retreated dozens of meters, and almost sat on the ground. It's great. Haocheng screamed, waving the alloy long stick and rushed up. The nameless stick technique made him fierce. Alonso was also blood red at this time, raising the knight's gun, and fighting with Haocheng. Alfonso and Xia Xingchen were fighting fiercely. Both sides were circling in the air. Although the Royal Knight mecha was slightly faster, the Dragon Rider mecha had more thrusters on its fuselage, and turned very flexibly. The two mechas fired at each other with long-range weapons, and neither could do anything to the other. However, what made the Alonso and Alfonso brothers very depressed was that the Dragon Rider mecha's floating guns fired from time to time during its evasion, either at Alfonso or at Alonso over there, making Alonso, who was not in the upper hand, miserable. He had no major problems for the time being because of the thick armor on his fuselage, but it was hard to say if he would be hit by a few more shots. At this time, the audience and the commentator in front of the TV were already dumbfounded. The Alfonso and Alonso brothers were notorious. In the Death Star region and the surrounding areas, children would not dare to cry as long as their names were mentioned. especially his younger brother Alonso, whose fighting style was extremely brave. They had witnessed Alonso tearing the opponent's mecha into pieces more than a dozen times, and even pulling out the dead mecha master from the opponent's mecha cockpit and kneading the body into meat paste. At this time, such a fierce character was forced into such a mess by an unknown mecha master. Hao Cheng was very good at close combat. Once he was entangled by him, he would be pestered and beaten to death. Especially in this kind of close combat, the Knight's gun of the Royal Knight mecha was at a disadvantage. Because the distance was too close, the power of the Knight's gun piercing, and the lightning blade teasing, could not be exerted at all, while the alloy long stick of Hao Cheng's mecha could have countless changes. Combined with Hao Cheng's own skills, Alonso was really hard to resist. Seeing his brother so embarrassed, Alfonso was very anxious. Now his brother was his only relative, and he could not allow his brother to be hurt. But the mecha master in front of him was too difficult to deal with, and he had to fight quickly. Thinking of this, he switched the Knight gun to melee mode. The engine behind the mecha was fully powered, and his mental power surged out of his body like crazy. A golden cone-shaped shield appeared with the tip of the Knight gun as the center, covering the front of the entire Royal Knight mecha. Look, the fearless charge combat skill. Alfonso's mecha master's ultimate move. He intends to use this move to teach his opponent a lesson. The mental power is concentrated on the tip of the gun, forming a powerful protective shield on the front of the mecha, and all opponents will be smashed into powder. It seems that the kid who only knows how to dodge is in danger. Seeing the opponent's moves, Xia Xingchen roughly understood what this combat skill was. He pressed the button on the console, the Dragoon system started, and 6 floating guns soared into the sky. In the last final with Hao Cheng, Xia Xingchen once again emptied all the mental power in his mental sea, but later he found that his mental power level, which had been standing still for more than half a year, had actually broken through, and he was now at level 26 mental power. Another breakthrough in the mental power level also brought a benefit, that is, he originally only had 4 mental power clones, but now he has 6 mental power clones, which means that he can use 6 floating guns at the same time. Look, my god, facing Alfonso's ultimate move, what does Xia Xingchen want to do? Now using the Dragoon system, the attack of the floating gun at this time is just tickling the opponent. Moreover, he will be distracted and die faster. The commentator showed off his professional knowledge on the side, while Zhang Yingying and Vivian held their hands tightly together. Their nervous hands were sweating, and Chen Tingting prayed secretly in front of the screen. Many people thought that Xia Xingchen would use the floating gun to go around the back of the Royal Knight mech to launch an attack, but Xia Xingchen's approach surprised everyone. The 6 floating guns floated behind the Dragon Knight Warlord mech, on the same plane as the mech, like a huge hexagram. At this time, 6 floating guns fired at the same time, and 6 green lasers actually intersected at one point, which happened to be on the movement path of the Royal Knight mecha. The collision of the 6 lasers caused a huge explosion and shockwave, which hit the shield of the Royal Knight mecha fiercely. His impact was delayed, and the shield dimmed a little. Then there were 2 more volleys. After 2 huge explosions, Alfonso's mecha's charge was interrupted, and the shield was completely lost. At this time, the floating gun fired another volley, and Alonso could not resist it, and could only use his shield to resist it. There was another fierce explosion, and Alfonso's mecha was overturned. At this time, Xia Xingchen threw away the mecha laser rifle, pulled out the electric sword with his right hand, and directly inserted it into the cockpit of the Royal Knight mecha. Oh my god, my money. Everyone in front of the TV was shocked. The leader of the Xingdi Star Pirates, the cunning and powerful Alfonso, became the soul of the sword of the senior mecha repairman in front of him. Chapter 169 A Rich Harvest. Alfonso's Royal Knight mech was blown up by Xia Xingchen, and he himself was dead. But his brother didn't have time to feel sad for his brother's death at this time, because he had no energy to care about his brother's life or death. Under Hao Cheng's stormy attack, the knight's gun finally couldn't bear the burden, and broke into 2 pieces. What followed was a stick filled with Hao Cheng's full strength. The alloy iron stick was like a golden sword, and the huge blade chopped through the middle of the Royal Knight mech. A mech was torn into 2 pieces, and Alonso's body turned into a bloody rain. We won. Zhang Yingying and Vivian hugged each other excitedly. Chen Tingting's eyes were filled with tears of joy. Natalia next to her said, "These two people are very powerful, far beyond the level of sea level mech masters. I'm not their opponent. Even if I drive the full version of the Snow Queen mech, I can't do anything. By the way, Sister Natalia, you went out to test drive the mech yesterday. How did you feel? Do the mech operating parameters need to be adjusted?" Chen Tingting asked. It turned out that Freya, who had just recovered from a headache yesterday, followed a medium-sized cruiser to test drive the Ice Queen mecha outside the hotel's sphere of influence. She was very satisfied with the performance of the mecha, especially the mecha master's familiarity with her driving habits and the setting of the mecha parameters. She couldn't be more satisfied. It would be great if he didn't leave. Chen Tingting murmured. Xia Xingchen and Hao Cheng slowly drove the mecha into the mecha hangar and loaded it into the mecha transport container. The staff will send them back to Black Hole number 1. As soon as they walked out of the mecha hangar, a person came towards them. It was Merc, the chief judge of the Death Star Sea. "Congratulations to you two." Merc congratulated first. "By the way, thank you for helping us get rid of a big disaster in the Death Star Sea Hotel." His gratitude was sincere because the brothers Alonso and Alfonso have developed very rapidly in the past 2 years, and there is intelligence that they have hooked up with Prince Nicholas's people, which will inevitably have a major impact on the order of the Death Star Sea Hotel in the near future. "You're welcome." Xia Xingchen was very humble. "To be honest, I should have rewarded you for your performance. But you are already very good mecha repairman, and you have more good things than me. I really don't know how to reward you." Merc said politely. "My lord, how about this? You specially approve a quota and allow me to kill someone in the hotel?" Xia Xingchen suddenly remembered something. Judge Merc was very curious. "It's not impossible, but who do you want to kill?" "Luke. Cutting the grass needs to be rooted out. We killed his 2 young masters, and his spiritual support is gone. I'm worried that this old madman will do something irrational." Xia Xingchen said seriously. Merc pondered for a while and said, "You should know that the hotel has been around for a long time, and there will often be monitoring failures." "Haha, I understand." Xia Xingchen smiled knowingly. "Excuse me, how old are you to this year, and what level of mecha repairman are you?" Merc was very curious. "I'm 21 years old, a C level mecha master." Hao Cheng replied. "I'm 17 years old, and I'll be 18 in a few days, a C-class mecha master." "Hey, it seems that I'm really old. Good luck to you, young men. By the way, I remind you to go to the task release center and see that the bounty for killing these 2 brothers has accumulated to an astronomical figure over the years." Merc patted the 2 on the shoulders and turned away. "What's wrong with him?" Hao Cheng asked. "This is a hero's twilight years. Why do I feel that his fighting spirit has suddenly disappeared?" Xia Xingchen was also confused. He was right. Judge Merc was hit hard by these 2 young people. When he became a C-class mecha master at the age of 35, he felt that he was very outstanding. After continuous efforts over the years, he originally wanted to impact the A-class mecha master, but seeing a group of young people so fierce, his self-confidence was severely hit. Who knows what kind of monsters he will encounter during the assessment. You know, there is also a high mortality rate in participating in the A-class mecha master competition. Even if he faces these 2 young people in front of him, he can defeat them one-on-one, but if the 2 attack him together, he will be in danger. So he gave up the plan to become an A-class mecha master. After all, he was old, and his status, money, family, there were too many things he couldn't let go of. The teacher told me that if a mecha master loses his desire for power, his level will drop significantly. I didn't believe it at first, but after seeing Mr. Merc, I think I believe it. Hao Cheng was also very emotional. The 2 first came to the mission release center of the Death Star Hotel and received a reward of 120 billion. The 2 brothers have offended too many people over the years, and many people even went bankrupt to get rid of them. Half of the bonus belongs to Hao Cheng, but he resolutely doesn't want it and wants to share the bonus with everyone. He felt that he didn't do anything along the way, and it was not reasonable to take so much money. The 2 left the mission release hall, and suddenly a luxury car stopped in front of them. A short old man in his 50s with a mouth full of gold teeth and countless jewels walked out of it. He came close to the two of them, opened his big golden mouth, and smiled. "Please stay, gentlemen. Let me introduce myself. I'm Aquino V, the largest force in the Death Star region. I have thousands of spaceships. I think you two are very powerful, and I want to invite you to join. What do you think? Of course, you can ask for any treatment you want." Aquino V had a sly smile on his face. "Mr. Aquino, you probably don't know our identities. We are bounty hunters and imperial officers. You are dangling in front of us, and we look at you like star coins. I'm afraid that one day I can't help but exchange your head for star coins. In addition, Brother Alfonso Alonso is dead. If I kill you here, do you think Judge Merc will reward us two good young men who share his worries?" Xia Xingchen's tone was teasing, but it revealed more of a biting chill. Aquino V broke into a cold sweat. Recently, Prince Nicholas sent someone to recruit him, and his archenemy was killed in a duel. He was a little too proud of himself, and wanted to recruit Xia Xingchen. But Xia Xingchen's words woke him up. Judge Merc was definitely the one who wanted him the most. "Mr. Xia, I'm sorry for being so presumptuous. Goodbye." With that, Aquino V got into the car and fled in disgrace. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 170, Leaving the Death Star region. Xia Xingchen's words scared away Aquino V, who wanted to recruit him. Although he didn't like this old man, his attitude and the conditions he offered were much better than that of Luke. At this moment, Xia Xingchen hoped that Luke would come to trouble them, so that he could send him to reunite with their two young masters in hell. But he didn't know that when Alfonso was killed, Luke directly spit out a large mouthful of blood, and when Alonso was also killed a few seconds later, Luke spit out a large mouthful of blood again, and lost consciousness on the spot. The pirates didn't have such good medical equipment, not to mention that the Brotherhood Pirates was already in a mess at this time. Some people were busy escaping from the clutches of the devil, some wanted to win over other pirates to seize power, and some wanted to take the spacecraft to join Aquino V. In short, no one thought about the life and death of this old man. More than an hour later, Luke finally died of excessive blood loss and ruptured cardiovascular and cerebrovascular vessels. Xia Xingchen and Hao Cheng returned to the spaceship and came to the living room. At this time, the lights in the living room suddenly went out. When the two were at a loss, a fire suddenly lit up on the table in the middle of the living room. Xia Xingchen saw that it was a big birthday cake. A birthday song suddenly sounded behind him. Zhang Yingying, Vivian, Perlo, and Hugo came out from behind him, clapping their hands and singing birthday songs. Zhang Yingying said excitedly, "First of all, congratulations to the two of you for winning the mecha duel today and removing a harm from the Empire. In addition, let us wish Xingchen a happy 18th birthday." Xia Xingchen only then knew that today was actually his 18th birthday. He was moved to tears. In 18 years, this was the only time someone celebrated his birthday for him, and it was also his first birthday. 3 years ago, Xia Xingchen and his father were just minors. They were busy every day for a bite of food. At that time, Xia Xingchen didn't even know what a birthday was. Later, when he arrived at the quicksand base, he was busy trying to become stronger and didn't pay attention to this issue. Moreover, in the quicksand base, the people there are in danger of losing their lives at any time. They may die in the hands of space pirates one day, so the people in the quicksand base do not have the tradition of celebrating birthdays. They even superstitiously believe that, after celebrating their birthdays on Watchstar, they are not far from death. Today is the day Perlo remembered by chance. He has read Xia Xingchen's files and knows that this is his 18th birthday. Although in the Galactic Empire, 15 years old is a legal adult, in the thousands of years of inheritance of human society, the 18th birthday is the most important. Perlo didn't care about watching the game and looked for a place to make birthday cakes everywhere and finally ordered this birthday cake. Mother, Father Free, Colonel Bessie, and Freya. It would be great if Freya could be by my side at this time. Xia Xingchen thought. But he didn't know that Freya didn't die that year, but was rescued by Chen Tingting. Now she has changed her name to Natalia, and is now preparing for battle on the Statue of Liberty not far from him. The death of the brothers Alfonso and Alonso caused the entire Brothers Star Pirates to collapse, and the power structure of the entire Death Star domain has undergone major changes. Aquinovi wanted to take the opportunity to expand his power, but the Freedom Temple would obviously not let them succeed, and a large-scale war would inevitably break out between the two sides. Xia Xingchen made a wish before blowing out the candles, and he had an unforgettable night. Finally, the matter of the Death Star domain came to an end, and it was time to return. There was less than a month before school started. Chen Tingting really wanted to come and see Xia Xingchen off in person, but now was an extraordinary period. The Star Pirates in the Death Star domain fought each other in order to divide the power of the Brothers Star Pirates. Countless eyes were watching Chen Tingting's every move. In order not to cause trouble to Xia Xingchen, she could only send a video call to say goodbye. Xingchen, I heard that you were leaving. I really didn't want to see you go. I wanted to see you off in person, but you know the current situation. I can't cause you any trouble. Thank you, Xing'a. It's really nice to meet you. I think we will meet again. Oh, by the way, Xingchen. Sister Natalia asked me to thank you on her behalf. She is very satisfied with the mecha you designed for her. It's a pity that you didn't meet this time. I hope to see you next time. It's Milner, missing her. Xia Xingchen agreed. It's just that he didn't expect that he would pass by his lover again this time. Well, Xingchen, my real name is Chen Tingting. You only need to know it. My identity is sensitive, so it must be kept confidential. Please don't blame me. I hope you can understand. I understand, Tingting. I hope we can meet again in the future. Goodbye. Goodbye, Xingchen. A very orderly mixed fleet left the Death Star Hotel. Today, 2 military medium-sized space cruisers and 4 small high-speed space reconnaissance ships completed the routine inspection mission from Watchstar to the Death Star Sea Hotel, and are about to return to the Watchstar space station. More than a dozen civilian spaceships chose to go on the road with the warships, so that they would not be robbed by Star Pirates. Black Hole number 1 is also in this large force. In fact, there is no problem for Xia Xingchen and his team to go on the road by themselves. Xia Xingchen and Hao Qing have made a name for themselves in the battle. Those small-scale Star Pirates dare not attack them at all. Aquinovi is now overwhelmed by the Free Temple and is unwilling to establish such a strong enemy for himself. 3 days later, the spaceship arrived at the Watchstar space station. Everyone was busy with the final inspection and supply of the spaceship, and Xia Xingchen came to the Mercenary Group Management Agency to hand in the task. Since the Skynet signal in the Death Star Sea is not covered, the task can only be settled when they return to Watchstar again. After deducting the handling fee, they received a total of 56 billion star coins for the bounty mission they completed in the Death Star domain this time. The mission points they received were enough for them to become a C-class mercenary group. However, a C-class mercenary group must have more than 5 small spaceships or a medium-sized spaceship. Otherwise, they cannot be upgraded just by points. For the time being, they can only hover at the level of a D-class mercenary group. Xia Xingchen returned to the spaceship and distributed a bonus of 10 billion star coins to everyone, except himself and Hugo. Everyone was very grateful. This time, their experience made a total profit of nearly 200 billion star coins. After deducting the expenses and the bonuses given to everyone, there were still about 110 billion star coins left. This money seems to be a lot, but if the mercenary group wants to develop in the future, it will take at least 80 billion star coins to purchase just one old-fashioned military medium-sized warship with the minimum configuration. Add to that the cost of modifying and maintaining the spaceship, and this amount of money is really nothing. Xia Xingchen was still worried about money, but then he thought about how he was still a poor man half a year ago, and couldn't even afford an alloy dagger for a mecha. Now he has a private mecha and a net worth of hundreds of billions. What else is there to be dissatisfied with? He even felt that he was too hypocritical. Chapter 171 William's Gift. The next destination of Black Hole number 1 is Rostar. When they left Rostar nearly 2 months ago, William Krupp said that he had prepared gifts for them. but time was very tight at that time, and it would take some time to prepare the gifts. Upon learning that Black Hole number 1 had returned, William Krupp personally greeted Xia Xingchen and his party at the dock of the spaceport. At the grand welcome dinner, William listened with interest to Vivian's wonderful story about their trip. Zhang Yingying also took out the battle video of Xia Xingchen and Hao Cheng participating in the mecha duel. William was very excited after watching it. He regretted that he could not go to the Death Star region with Xia Xingchen and his party to explore. After 3 rounds of wine and 5 flavors of dishes, William Krupp settled everyone in the most luxurious 7-star hotel on Rostar to rest, and then he personally took Xia Xingchen and Perlo to the Krupp family's private space dock. There is a fully enclosed space dock here. Several people walked into the dock, and 11 young people in uniform came towards them. They saluted the 3 people neatly. Wilhelm Krupp pointed inside the dock, and the lights in the dock suddenly lit up. What came into view was a huge warship. Xingchen, this is my gift to you. The Rhine-class medium-sized high-speed mecha cruiser was originally a high-speed battle cruiser, but it would be too conspicuous. The Empire would not allow a space battleship with such powerful firepower to sail freely, so I removed some of its guns and converted it into a high-speed mecha cruiser. By the way, the cargo hold was also expanded, which is more practical. Then, William Krupp introduced the Rhine-class cruiser to them. The Rhine-class high-speed cruiser is the most advanced medium-sized cruiser that Krupp Industries just rolled off the production line 3 years ago. The ship in front of them is named Westphalen. It is 366 meters long, 54 meters wide and 38 meters high. The bridge is a liftable and hidden type. It can normally carry 20 mechas, but after a simple modification of some cargo holds, it can carry up to 30 mechas. Its power system is an ultra-large controlled nuclear fusion engine and 6 large controlled nuclear fusion engines. There are 16 ultra-large quantum thrusters at the tail of the spacecraft, which gives the spacecraft an extremely high speed. The weapon system of the modified Westphalen includes a heavy positron cannon with a maximum range of 1,000 kilometers. To large electromagnetic railguns with a maximum range of 800 kilometers, 16 heavy twin laser naval guns, 24 4-barrel laser rapid-fire close-in defense guns. There are also 2 8-barrel missile launch systems. It is simply armed to the teeth. But what Xia Xingchen didn't know was that the result of dismantling 2 internal turrets and 2 external turrets was still the same. Among the weapon systems of the Westphalen, the positron cannon is undoubtedly the most powerful weapon. The positron cannon is a weapon that uses the annihilation reaction of the combination of positive and antimatter to achieve the purpose of attack. In the microscopic world, ordinary electrons are negatively charged. The energy emitted by the positron cannon is a positron, also known as a positron. When a positron meets an object carrying a negative electron, annihilation occurs. And this annihilation will be accompanied by the release of huge energy, and its energy level is comparable to that of a nuclear bomb. The positron cannon is extremely expensive, and generally only heavy space carriers use it as the main gun. The only medium-sized battleship equipped with it is the Rhine class, and among the only 10 Rhine class ships, only the Westphalen and Wilhelm Krupp's current flagship Dortmund are equipped with positron cannons. In addition, the armor of the Rhine class is also very thick, using the most advanced alloy materials. There are 8 light shield generators on the hull. The performance of the Rhine class is very superior, and it can be said that it is the most advanced medium-sized cruiser today. But its cost is too high. Even if the Rhine class is not equipped with a positron cannon, the cost of one Rhine class is 600 billion star coins. This price is unaffordable for the Imperial Army. Therefore, only 10 Rhine-class ships were produced, most of which were used as the flagships of the Krupp family and the top leaders of the Krupp group for interstellar travel. William Krupp's own Rhine-class ship had been destroyed by the pirates in the ambush in the Lauland starfield. The Dortmund he was on was the ship that his father Eisen Krupp had taken before, and the Westphalen was the flagship of his third brother Mario Krupp. Dead people don't need spaceships. So William Krupp planned to modify it and give it to Xia Xingchen. Xingchen, this battleship needs at least 10 members to operate it. These 10 guys are all carefully trained by our family. Each of their fathers and relatives died in the process of my last robbery, and they also have a deep hatred with Nicholas. So, I hand them over to you, and with them, you can freely control this spaceship. William Krupp was very thoughtful, which touched Xia Xingchen very much. William introduced Xia Xingchen and the 10 crew members to each other, and then they entered the interior of the spacecraft together. William took Xia Xingchen directly to the mecha cabin, and everything in front of him made Xia Xingchen and Perlo stunned. The mecha cabin of the Westphalen was filled with personal mechas and various mecha accessories. This is also my gift to you. The 3 of us brothers have collected a lot of high-end private mechas. Now that the 2 of them are dead, I no longer have time to play mechas. This is the collection of the 3 of us brothers. They are all made of the best materials and the best accessories, most of which are equipped with nuclear engines and red light thrusters. There are also some mecha weapons, rare materials, etc. in the warehouse over there, all of which are given to you. Xingchen, I heard that you and Father Free are very good at mecha maintenance and design. I believe these things can play the greatest role in your hands. Xia Xingchen expressed his gratitude to William. Then he selected a lot of mecha accessories from these equipments. William sent someone to deliver them to Black Hole number 1. Xia Xingchen and Perlo returned to the presidential suite where they lived and held another meeting. This was also the last meeting of their journey. Here, they will temporarily separate. Perlo will be responsible for guiding the Westphalen to the secret base of the Jiaozi organization and handing over these mechas and accessories to Father Free. The others will take Black Hole number 1 back to Xianyuan Star. However, there are still some troubles with Yugo, because Xianyuan Star has very strict control over aliens and miners. Miners are not qualified to land on Xianyuan Star at all, and if aliens want to land on Xianyuan Star, they must undergo strict examination and the procedures are very complicated. Xia Xingchen plans to ask Dayren or even Princess Crossing for help. On the eve of leaving, William Krupp held a sumptuous farewell dinner. The next morning, Black Hole number 1 and Westphalen each set out on their way home. Chapter 172 Return Home. Looking at the star map in front of him and calculating the time for the return trip, Xia Xingchen suddenly found a planet on the star map, Luban Star. It was on their return route. Vivian, if we stay on Luban Star for 3 days, will we have enough time for the return trip? Xia Xingchen asked. No problem. Our engine output power is now 70%. If we travel at full speed, we can stay for 4 days. Then let's stay on Luban Star for 2 or 3 days. I want to see my father. I haven't seen him for almost 3 years. No problem, Captain. Vivian replied. The spacecraft's autopilot system was turned on, and the engine output power was 90%. It only took 1 more day to reach Luban Star. At this time, Vivian and Zhang Yingying were on duty in the cockpit. Hao Cheng was busy cooking, and Xia Xingchen was busy in the mecha warehouse and cargo warehouse. He was taking inventory of the mecha accessories he brought back, and for some accessories that could be used, he quietly put them into the portable mecha space. Otherwise, it would be very troublesome to bring these things to Xianyuan Star, because many of them are contraband, and even if they are mixed with the accessories of the Tang Dynasty group, it is still a very troublesome thing. Zhang Yingying found that Vivian was a little abnormal today. She usually loves to talk and make trouble, but suddenly she seemed like a different person, often staring at the big screen in a daze, sometimes blushing, and sometimes grinning foolishly. Sister Vivian, what's wrong with you? Are you not feeling well? Zhang Yingying asked with concern. Oh, nothing. Vivian blushed, and she pretended to be calm, trying to hide her panic. And, I went to your room to find you this morning, and you were not there. Maybe I was taking a shower at that time and didn't hear it. But why did you come out of Perlo's room with him after a while? You were in pajamas and sneaked into your room. I was sitting on the sofa in the living room and saw everything. Oh, I see. You must be cheating. I was wondering. You often stare at Perlo secretly with an ambiguous look in your eyes. Zhang Yingying joked. Oh, you dead girl. How dare you spy on me and blame me? Don't you have the same look when you look at the stars? As they talked, the two of them started playing around. It turns out that humans are often very lonely during the long interstellar journey. There are countless examples of men and women getting along for a long time in such a small space, attracting each other, and finally getting together. There are also many temporary partners to meet physiological needs and relieve loneliness. Perlo is 1 year older than Vivian, and he is a handsome guy himself. After he got on board, He always worked on duty with Vivian. The two secretly developed feelings for each other. But Polo has been suppressing his feelings and dared not accept this feeling easily. At the banquet last night, both of them drank a little too much, and Vivian bravely knocked on Polo's door. 8,000 words omitted here. A day later, the spacecraft landed directly on Luban Star. Hao Cheng and Hugo looked after the spacecraft, while Xia Xingchen went to visit his father. Zhang Yingying also strongly requested to follow Xia Xingchen. Xia Xingchen had no choice but to take her with her. Xia Xingchen took Zhang Yingying with him, rented a small maglev car, and drove quickly to the number 00168 ecosystem. Along the way, Xia Xingchen told Zhang Yingying about his childhood on Manastar, and Yingying listened with great interest. According to the address sent by his father, Xia Xingchen came to the family area of military base on planet 00168, and found a beautiful apartment building according to the address. Room 3006. It should be here. Xia Xingchen rang the doorbell. Not long after, the door opened, and a middle-aged woman in her early 40s walked out. She was well maintained and exuded a tranquil temperament. "Who are you looking for?" The woman saw the young man in military uniform with the rank of captain and the young girl with the rank of second lieutenant in front of her. "Hello, you must be Aunt Zhang. I heard my father talk about you. Thank you for taking care of my father." Xia Xingchen bowed deeply. It turned out that Xia Xingchen had sent nearly 5 million star coins to his father Xia Yu in the past year. After Xia Yu and Li Quan discussed it, the two families moved out of the original dormitory and rented a large duplex apartment together. Xia Yu lived alone, so Li Quan and his wife and Aunt Li could take care of him. Later, Aunt Li introduced one of her colleagues to Xia Yu, Aunt Zhang. She was widowed a few years ago and had no children, so she was also alone. She got along well with Xia Yu, and later the two lived together. "Oh, Xingchen is here. Come in and sit down. Such a beautiful girl must be your girlfriend. Come on, come in and sit down." Aunt Li came out of the house and enthusiastically invited the two to come in. Zhang Yingying blushed when she heard that Aunt Li had misunderstood, but she did not refute it, but felt sweet in her heart. In the evening, Li Quan and Xia Yu came back from get off work. Seeing his son so successful, Xia Yu burst into tears. Aunt Zhang and Aunt Li prepared a sumptuous dinner, and the two families had a reunion dinner together. Despite Xia Xingchen's repeated explanations, Xia Yu still treated Zhang Yingying the way he treated his future daughter-in-law. Xia Xingchen was embarrassed, but Zhang Yingying enjoyed it. At night, Zhang Yingying slept in the guest room. Aunt Zhang temporarily returned to her own residence, and Xia Xingchen shared a room with his father. The two chatted until late at night. Xia Xingchen told his father that the war was about to start and asked him not to go to the front line. Xia Yu agreed. The next day, Xia Xingchen said goodbye to his father and left him 10 million star coins. He told his father that this was the prize money for winning the Xianyuan Star Military Academy mecha fighting competition. Then, he and Yingying returned to Black Hole number 1. Vivian cancelled the autopilot, and the spacecraft engine output power reached 95%. 10 days later, they finally returned to the Canal space station on Xianyuan Star. Black Hole number 1 was parked at the Tang Dynasty Group's dedicated berth. The Dragon Rider War General Mecha and the Monkey King Mecha were loaded into the Mecha transport container. They will be sent to the landing administration for inspection, re-registration, issuance of identification codes and installation of positioning devices. Mechas have to go through various inspections to enter and exit Xianyuan Star, which is for safety reasons. At the same time, he took Hugo to the immigration administration to fill in information and conduct identity authentication. Although Xia Xingchen found some connections through Dayren, it took them 2 full days to get the entry permit. Vivian and Zhang Yingying said goodbye to Xia Xingchen at the space station. They agreed to team up together when they go to train again during the next vacation. Zhang Yingying was reluctant to leave Xia Xingchen and had to leave helplessly under Vivian's chasing. The space shuttle landed at the airport and then took the maglev passenger spacecraft. Xia Xingchen, Hao Cheng and Hugo finally arrived at the military zone of Xianyuan Star. Chapter 173, Brand New Mecha Club. Two luxurious maglev cars stopped at the entrance of the passenger transport center of Xianyuan Star Military Zone. Familiar faces came into view. Hey Hans, you have gained 2 circles of weight again. It's time to lose weight. Otherwise, if you fail the physical test after school starts, the instructors will punish you to death. XIU minimum, you stayed up late again. Look at your dark circles. Has the lovely sister QIUIUI become more beautiful again? Dayren, thank you very much, otherwise I will have to stay in the airport for another half a month. Seeing his roommates, Xia Xingchen felt very cordial. He also introduced Hugo to everyone. Everyone liked this somewhat shy alien very much. The first destination of the car was the commercial street in the military zone. From a distance, Xia Xingchen was shocked. A huge building with a length of more than 600 meters, a width of 200 meters, and a height of 30 meters appeared in front of him. On the outer wall of the building, a large screen more than 20 meters high played the battle video of Xia Xingchen and Hao Cheng. Several huge red characters were erected on the roof. 1524 Mecha Club. It can be seen from a few kilometers away. Walking into the building, it was even more surprising. The building is divided into 3 floors and a basement. There are 50 mecha maintenance operation tables, 20 mecha display tables, and the basement is a mecha and parts warehouse. It has now been built into the largest mecha service complex in Xianyu Star, integrating mecha sales, repairs, maintenance, and modification, and mecha delivery. In addition, they also obtained the mecha franchise of the Tang Dynasty Group in the military zone, and also obtained the authorization of several mecha modification brands of the Tang Dynasty Group. In addition, the 1524 Mecha Club also combines multiple business projects such as catering, entertainment, accommodation, and mecha simulation games. Hans Grandet led Xia Xingchen and Hugo to the employee dormitory area on the top floor, and he arranged a separate room for Hugo. It was already very difficult for Hugo to be allowed to enter Xianyu Star, and it was strictly forbidden to take him into the Imperial Military Command Academy, even if the Dean and the Emperor of the Empire said so. The Military Academy is a military facility and an important place for the Imperial military. How could an alien be allowed to enter? So Xia Xingchen greeted Hans Grandet in advance, and arranged Hugo in the staff dormitory. Hugo was usually listed in the security department. He could do anything every day. He had food in the staff canteen, and received a monthly salary. It was Hans Grandet's idea to let Hugo go to the security department. And as expected, many customers were very interested in this tall Terami security guard. Many people came to maintain the mecha just to chat with Hugo. Hugo also enjoyed this kind of life. He patrolled diligently every day, and chatted with guests. When Xia Xingchen came, he would go to help. Life was very fulfilling. The evening welcome dinner was held in the restaurant of the 1524 Mecha Club. Xia Xingchen distributed gifts to everyone, and Grandet reported to Xia Xingchen on the operation of the 1524 Mecha Club. In the past 3 months, the club has made a total profit of more than 50 billion star coins, but most of the money has been invested by Grandet in expanding the scope of business and building venues. Therefore, it is temporarily impossible to distribute dividends. Xia Xingchen expressed his understanding. So far, the 1524 Mech Club has recruited 5 senior mech maintenance technicians, 40 intermediate mech maintenance technicians and more than 100 mech maintenance apprentices. Hans is now busy selecting a site and conducting personnel training. He plans to open another branch. Xia Xingchen felt incredible that a random idea of a few people half a year ago has grown into a behemoth. Even if there is his own contribution here, the efforts of others are also indispensable, especially Hans Grandet. This guy's business mind is too amazing. After dinner, Hans secretly called Xia Xingchen aside. Xingchen, come with me, I'll give you a surprise. Oh, is it the private mech hangar I asked you to prepare for me? Because Xia Xingchen got a lot of prohibited mech accessories such as nuclear mech engines, Xia Xingchen contacted Hans to help him find a secret mech hangar. When he left Rostar, the two came to the number 8 elevator and walked on the elevator. Grandet scanned his personal terminal on the elevator's operating panel, and the elevator began to slowly descend. It did not stop after reaching the underground floor, but continued to descend for more than 20 meters before stopping. Xia Xingchen was puzzled, because the elevator operating panel only displayed the corresponding buttons for the underground floor and the third floor above ground, and now the display screen showed -2. What's going on? Digging so deep, how much work must it take? Xia Xingchen was puzzled. Grandad explained the whole story to him proudly. It turned out that when Grandad was digging the basement for the expansion of the store, he suddenly discovered a large natural underground cave 30 meters underground. It happened that Xia Xingchen needed a secret personal mecha warehouse, so Hans had the underground cave renovated and built into a secret mecha laboratory. Only this elevator and the number 6 mecha elevator can go down here. You must pass the identity authentication of the personal terminal. Fortunately, I have opened the permission for you. Currently, only the two of us can go in. The two walked into the secret mecha laboratory, which is a large underground space with a height of 8 meters and an area of about 400 square meters. There are 2 multifunctional mecha maintenance operating tables, various testing equipment, and even a set of material factory equipment. Xia Xingchen was very satisfied. He planned to install a nuclear engine on the Dragon Rider Warrior Mecha as soon as possible. Chapter 174 Discussion on Intelligence. After returning to the dormitory, Dayren came to find Xia Xingchen, and the two exchanged some information they had. When Dayren learned that it was Xia Xingchen and others who saved William Krupp, he laughed happily. Xingchen, do you know that your action has once again saved the Empire and delayed the progress of the war by at least 2 years? Nicholas's original paralysis plan almost wiped out these enterprises related to the lifeblood of the Empire. The productivity level of the entire Empire has regressed by nearly 1 to 2 years. And this pot of shit has been put on the head of the Galaxy Freedom Army. Our Emperor will definitely use the country's troops to encircle and suppress the Galaxy Freedom Army, which will cause greater social unrest. But this time William Krupp's personal testimony made everyone see the true face of Nicholas, and the victims shared a common hatred and cut off all economic ties with the North, causing the economy of the North to be severely damaged, and the progress of preparations for war was greatly affected. It seems that you are Nicholas' natural nemesis. Dayren was very happy. How is the school going? My intelligence network has been almost built, including several gossip clubs in the school, and some computer experts, all of which have been recruited by me. Now there is a new situation. That is, nearly 80% of the students from the North and those who have connections with the North have dropped out, and those who remain are students who have been enrolled for less than 2 years. It is understood that Nicholas has been recruiting troops on a large scale in recent years, resulting in bloated personnel, chaotic management, and low efficiency under his command. He had to slow down the pace of expansion and start reorganizing the team. This requires a large number of talents. Moreover, through this incident, he has almost torn his face with the Empire, and it is difficult to instigate students to rebel. In other aspects, what other actions does Nicholas have? It's still the same old routine, supporting puppets and finding scapegoats. Recently, in some remote areas, the Star Pirates have been making a lot of trouble, and the intelligence department analyzed where Nicholas has reached out. Dayren analyzed the situation to Xia Xingchen. So are there any new actions now? Yes, now the Ministry of the Interior, the Intelligence Department and the Security Department of the Empire are already busy and have begun to clean up the lurkers in the key areas of the Empire and the army. I think it's still a bit passive. We should fight back. Xia Xingchen suggested. In the previous stage, our intelligence network and underground front in the north suffered a heavy blow. The losses were heavy, and many people have been targeted, and they have more important tasks, so it's difficult to make big moves for the time being. Dayren said with some embarrassment. William Krupp and I talked a lot this time. We will contact a group of people secretly. William will pay and trip up Nicholas. I hope you can provide some intelligence support. Xia Xingchen didn't want to expose the Jiaozi organization, so he expressed his ideas under the banner of William Krupp. Dayren thought about it and said, that's no problem. We can even provide funding, personnel support, and technical training. No, we don't need funds, and we don't need personnel and training. Xia Xingchen said seriously. We will not interfere with any of your actions. You have the final say on all actions. Dayren thought, that Xia Xingchen was worried about losing the leadership of the action. No, you misunderstood. This is not a question of leadership. Dayren, let me ask you, what is the main reason for the heavy losses of our intelligence personnel in the north? Dayren thought for a while and said, in fact, this is a scandal. Several of our senior intelligence personnel were bribed by Nicholas, which almost uprooted our intelligence network in the north. You are worried about double agents, right? This worry is also right. There are indeed many defectors in our industry. Your worry is justified. Xia Xingchen continued, this is just one of the reasons. As an outsider, let me tell you my opinion. I feel that our current empire's intelligence system is too rigid. Many things are done according to fixed procedures. You can tell at a glance that it is done by you intelligence personnel. Take you for example, you exude the smell of conspiracy. Such intelligence work can be seen without people betraying it. During the 3-month journey, Xia Xingchen read a lot of relevant books and talked with Zhang Yengying a lot about the internal and foreign affairs of the Galactic Empire, which caused him to think a lot. Dayren was silent. Xia Xingchen's words touched him deeply. The Galactic Empire is indeed facing great internal and external troubles now. Their whole family has been working hard for this, and the words of an outsider made him sober up, as if he had been enlightened. Xia Xingchen continued, moreover, we are likely to use some very cruel means. If the matter is exposed, if someone from the intelligence department is involved, you will face great pressure from public opinion. Based on the above 3 reasons, I decided to act alone. Then how can you ensure that there will be no problems with your personnel? Dayren asked. Everyone who participates in the operation here has a loved one who died at the hands of Nicholas. They have a strong desire for revenge. Such people cannot be bought. I understand. Don't worry, we will provide the greatest intelligence support. That night, in the minister's office of the Imperial Ministry of the Interior, Minister De Yunfei's eyes lit up after listening to his grandson's introduction. Xia Xingchen is right. Rigid thinking and sticking to the old ways are our lifeblood. We must reform, otherwise we will be eliminated by the times, and this backwardness is directly related to the survival of the Empire. Rena, what do you think? Tell me, I want to hear your thoughts. Dayren pondered for a moment and said, Grandpa, reform is nothing more than breaking the old and establishing the new. If you don't break, you can't establish. That is to say, we must completely break the existing intelligence system and establish a brand new intelligence system. My opinion is that we should not touch the original intelligence system for the time being and directly establish a brand new intelligence network under the new intelligence work ideas. This is mainly based on the following considerations. First, the establishment of an intelligence network takes time, several years, or even more than 10 years. Before the new intelligence network is formed, we still need the old intelligence network to play their role. Second, now that the war is imminent, if we reform the existing intelligence system, it will inevitably affect the operation of the existing intelligence system. Third, before and after the upcoming civil war, our original intelligence system is bound to suffer a major blow. At this time, the establishment of a new intelligence system will make up for this part of the loss, and then gradually replace the original intelligence system, and effectively avoid the direct confrontation between the two intelligence systems. Well said. Minister De Yunfei applauded. Rena, this matter is handed over to you. I won't give you any guidance. Just do it. Will this cause suspicion and fear from His Majesty the Emperor? Dayren asked. At this time of life and death for the country, even if my Day family is confiscated and exterminated, we must protect the safety of the Empire. Rena, you know, if Nicholas comes to power, our family will be the first to be confiscated and exterminated. Yes, Grandpa, I will make arrangements now. Also, your classmate Xia Xingchen, he is very good, really very good. The things he did almost caused Nicholas to lose the combat effectiveness of half of the fleet. You have to give him the greatest support and a bigger platform. I really look forward to what surprises he will give us. Chapter 175, Mecha Upgrade and Modification. Dayren left De Yunfei's office. A few days later, the Galactic Empire Strategic Intelligence Department, or FSI, was officially established under the Ministry of the Interior of the Galactic Empire. It became the fourth largest intelligence agency in the Galactic Empire. Because it was a secret intelligence work, important information including the head of this department was kept confidential. Daren was the head of this secret intelligence department. He now began to find and train intelligence personnel within the military academy. The Galactic Empire previously had three major intelligence agencies: the Imperial Military Intelligence Department, which was mainly responsible for military and hostile intelligence, the Imperial Security Bureau, which was mainly responsible for domestic security affairs, and was the main force in dealing with domestic miners resistance organizations, the Imperial Inspection Bureau, which was mainly aimed at collecting intelligence on officials and military generals in the Galactic Empire, and finding evidence of their illegal crimes. The newly established Galactic Empire Strategic Intelligence Department will collect all intelligence at home and abroad that will affect the development and security situation of the Galactic Empire, and make countermeasures. The next day, Xia Xingchen went to visit Qin Ren and the old man early in the morning with some specialties bought in the Death Star region, and Hao Cheng also went to visit Night Bell. In the evening, they accepted the invitation of the two princesses and welcomed them in a luxurious hotel on the commercial street. Then the school started. Xia Xingchen and Daren went to learn martial arts with Qin Ren and the old man early in the morning. As soon as the school started, all students had to take a strict physical fitness test. If they failed to meet the standard, they would be forced to undergo a month-long compulsory physical training. It was said that this was a hellish training. This was a long-term and effective measure to prevent students from indulging themselves during the long vacation. As a result, Hans Grandet and Li Xiaomin failed the test tragically and were dragged out by their instructors and tortured for a whole day. In the end, Li Qiuru asked Xia Xingchen and Hao Cheng to carry the two back to the dormitory. Then another batch of accessories and mechas from the Tang Dynasty group arrived. Hans and Li Xiaomin were undergoing compulsory physical training, so Xia Xingchen was fully responsible for the reception. Also coming with them were Xia Xingchen's Dragon Rider mecha and Hao Cheng's Monkey King mecha. Xia Xingchen sent these two mechas to the secret mecha laboratory. As for the mecha for display, when Xia Xingchen and Hao Cheng left 3 months ago, the cunning Grandet replaced the two real guys with another Dragon Rider mecha and a monk modified mecha. Xia Xingchen took out 3 macro-controlled nuclear fusion mecha engines and other accessories from the portable mecha space, and began to get busy. The first thing he wanted to modify was Hao Cheng's Monkey King mecha, because its structure was relatively simple. Replacing a mecha engine is not such a simple thing. Although the ordinary mecha engine is called an engine, it is actually just an energy distributor. It distributes the energy provided by the mecha battery to various parts of the mecha according to demand, such as weapon systems, thrusters, etc. The real controlled nuclear fusion engine is a real engine that can release a lot of energy through nuclear fusion reactions. There is a lot of work to do to modify the nuclear energy engine, and the workload is no less than redesigning a mecha. First of all, most of the batteries must be removed, leaving only a small piece. After all, it is impossible for the mecha master to start the nuclear fusion engine every time he tests the machine, moves the mecha, and does maintenance. Second, the nuclear fusion engine itself is also huge. Although most of the batteries have been removed, the space saved is not much. In order to place the nuclear fusion engine, the internal structure of the mecha must even be changed significantly. Third, as the output energy of the engine increases, all the related parts of the accessories inside the mecha must be strengthened, otherwise they are easy to burn. Finally, there are many new equipment specially used for nuclear energy engines. Xia Xingchen called up the drawings of the Monkey King mecha and spent 3 full days to complete the redesign. The core technology of this fighting mecha is the mental shock system. When the mecha master uses combat skills, the mecha can monitor the changes in the mecha master's mental power and adjust the output of the mecha's energy. After replacing the nuclear engine, the attack power of the mecha has increased by nearly 1-fold, so he must strengthen the supporting components of the mecha. The shock absorption equipment of the mecha must also be adjusted greatly to prevent Hao Cheng from being shocked to death by his own power in battle. Another modification point is to replace the main thruster with a red light thruster, so that the speed of the mecha will be greatly improved. However, the red light thrusters in Xia Xingchen's hand were not very useful, so only the main thrusters of the Monkey King mecha were replaced. In addition, equipped with a nuclear engine, a light shield system must be installed. Xia Xingchen installed 2 light shield generators on the front and back of the mecha. When the mecha is attacked, it can automatically release energy to offset the damage. In addition, 2 mental shield systems were installed on the forearms of the mecha. Driven by the mental power of the mecha master, a large amount of energy can be output instantly to form a physical shield composed of energy at the shield generator. The defense of this shield is very strong and can even bounce off the opponent's melee attack. The last step is to rewrite the operating system of the mecha. The original operating system is for non-nuclear engines, so it must be completely torn down and rebuilt. It took Xia Xingchen a full 10 days to completely assemble the new Monkey King mecha. In order to facilitate Hao Cheng's mecha to deal with inspections and maintenance without exposing the nuclear engine, Xia Xingchen disguised many internal structures of the mecha as battery packs and remade the mecha maintenance design drawings. It is impossible for a high-level mecha repairman to tell that this is a nuclear mecha. Hao Cheng was very excited when he saw his new Monkey King mecha. Monkey King mecha nuclear power version. Parameters: strength 45, agility 33, armor 40, speed 36. The overall parameters of the mecha have been greatly improved compared with the previous ones. The next modification was his own Dragon Rider mecha. Due to the heavy weight of the Dragon Rider system and the mecha, the battery pack of the mecha occupies a huge volume. The use of nuclear mecha saves a lot of space. These spaces allow Xia Xingchen to install a few more sets of thrusters. Now there are 4 medium-sized red light thrusters on the back of the Dragon Rider mecha. Then the same is to strengthen the mecha structure, install a light shield system, and install a mental shield. In terms of weapon systems, the floating gun has been redesigned, the laser output power has increased by 30%, and the charging time has been shortened to 30 seconds. In addition, there are hidden charging cables in the arms of the mecha. When using the mecha laser rifle, the nuclear engine can be used to charge the mecha laser rifle at any time. In other words, in theory, if the rifle is not damaged, and the mecha still has energy, it can keep shooting. Since the Dragon Rider Warrior mecha has been mass-produced and put on the market by the Tang Dynasty Group, Xia Xingchen renamed his mecha Dragon Rider Flying General. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.